When she first gave birth to a prince, her basic right to be a mother was cruelly taken away. The servants also made fun of her, claiming she was not good enough to care for the prince. This all happened because of a single statement made by the emperor. He told her, "Your mission is now complete." Over a period of 15 years, she was never able to see her beloved son, not even once. When the mother and her son finally met again, it happened with a sword pointed at her. He said, "Mother, no, I mean Your Majesty, the former empress." He told her, "It is time for you to leave now." Despite this, she did not blame her son for what was happening at all. She only felt sorrow for the pain he must have suffered alone behind that gate for all those years. What terrible suffering had he been forced to endure completely by himself? I am ready to receive the harshest punishment that exists in this world. I would do it if I could just have a single chance. One chance to be together with my son again. When she next opened her eyes, she found herself awake in the imperial palace. The time had surprisingly turned back by a total of 10 years. She thought, in this new life, I will never let history repeat itself. Because of her common birth, she had not experienced one good day living in the palace. Her husband, the Emperor Klouse, was always away fighting in wars. Therefore, giving birth to the prince was her only remaining hope for life. But everything occurred so quickly, and the emperor's behavior toward her stayed cold. He said, "From this day on, your only mission here is finished." The life she dreamed of, where a mother's position improves with her son, did not happen. She wanted to ask what he meant, but his reply was just his cold back as he left. He said, "As for the child, Lady Adelaide will now be responsible for his care." She could only watch without any power as the large doors were closed. She felt so terrified and completely helpless. She looked down at her young son next to her. He looked so very adorable to her. Her feelings of unfairness and great pain grew intensely in that moment. She held her son very tightly, as he was her only source of support. However, what cannot be avoided will always happen. Someone shouted, "Let go of him with your filthy hands." This sudden and rough action greatly startled her. She begged them not to take her son from her. She promised she would give him a very happy future. You are simply not worthy," they told her. For the very first time, she challenged Lady Adelaide by declaring, "I am his mother. You are only a tool that was used for producing the royal heir. Did you not hear what His Majesty the Emperor just told you? Your mission is over." Lady Adelaide's words were so harsh that even a newborn baby could feel the tension. At the moment she was going to comfort her crying son, the small child was cruelly snatched away from her. She felt completely desperate. But what could she possibly do? They said, "These are the orders from His Majesty the Emperor Klouse." Observing this, the nearby servants started to make fun of her openly. They said, "How could someone from a simple baron's family be capable of the great duty of raising the crown prince?" She realized this was all planned in advance. What could a person with no power like her do to change it? From that point forward, she did not see her son Yuri again until the day she died by his sword. But in this life, how can I allow you to succeed? She impulsively knocked on the door that kept her son sealed away. "Your Majesty, Empress Dali, this is not a place where you should be." This time, however, she refused to back down. "I command you with my authority as the Empress. I want to see the Crown Prince, and who dares to stop me?" Even though the guards could not believe it, they followed her order and opened the gate. She was finally inside for the first time in 15 years. She had made it in. At that moment, Yuri heard the noise and carefully peeked his head outside. "Mother!" She froze for just a second, then ran to the child she missed every day. But Yuri's face did not show very much surprise. He noticed the guards whispering at the door, and his eyes started to look more empty. He asked, "Mother, why have you come to visit me so suddenly?" With a heavy heart, she gently stroked her son, who seemed very tense. She thought, 5 years? Did it only take 5 years to make you become like this? Then she gave a smile. She softly pressed her forehead to his. "My child, it is because Mommy missed you terribly." In her previous life, a person with her low status would be mocked by the royals for showing even a small desire to be close with her son. Over many years, she accepted this idea and purposely kept a distance from him. "But I understand now what a foolish choice that was. I will never let you go again, my dear Yuri." For the very first time, a bright light appeared in Yuri's eyes. He greedily enjoyed the great happiness of this special moment. His 2 little hands held on tightly to his mother's clothing. After waiting a moment, Yuri finally let go of his mother, and asked the question kept in his heart for 5 years. "Mother, I sent you so many letters. Why did you never write back to me?" Dolly paused. She thought, letters? Yuri saw her slight expression change. He thought, so Mother has never given me any attention at all. His face quickly became sad as she was about to explain. A maidservant ran out and yelled at her. "Your Majesty, Empress Dolly, please move away from the Crown Prince right now." Another maidservant gave a rude instruction. "Yuri, Your Highness, the one in charge of your lessons, Lady Adelaide, is returning soon. Please wait inside your room until she gets back." It was another separation. Another separation caused her to scream without caring about her appearance. She cried out, "Yuri, my child!" Until the door shut, the maidservant spoke nonstop. "Honestly, what a problem. You stayed in your room yesterday. Why did you run out today?" The Empress Dolly was furious. 5 years of her backing down had made even a simple maidservant disrespect her. "Yuri said he wrote me letters. What is this all about? If you wish to stay in this castle, you must bring me every one of those hidden letters now." Later, after returning to her room, she quickly opened the letters. "Mother, are you doing well? I missed you very much. I will study very hard. Mother, do you hate me? I feel so lonely. I am looking forward to receiving your reply." A single tear dropped down onto the envelope. She thought, this child. He really missed me this much. She had gone to that sealed gate so many times before, but she never had enough courage to open it. She did not know that on the other side of the gate, it was exactly the same for her son Yuri. After Dolly had finished reading through all of the letters, the maidservant quickly gave a sincere apology. "Your Majesty, the Empress Dolly, this was a failure of my duty. I am so terribly sorry." However, Dolly had no plan to forgive her. "You should hope that I do not discover who was really behind all of this. Otherwise, I promise I will make all of you pay." The most important task now was taking over Yuri's care. For that, only one man's permission would be enough. The man who had told her that her mission was finished. A man who had not said a single word to her since that day. The man who had totally broken her heart. It was Klouse, the Emperor of the Iranian Empire. But for Yuri's sake, none of those things really mattered at all. "Pardon my intrusion." The butler standing outside the door froze for a second, then he greeted her with a smile. "Please come inside." To the Emperor, she was an uncommon guest. "It has been a very long time, Your Majesty. May the glory of the Empire be with you." The Emperor's cold eyes suddenly became serious. He both wanted and hated that she had arrived. He said, "I heard there was some kind of commotion in the castle." "Yes," she replied. "That is the reason why I have come to see you." To her complete surprise, the Emperor stood up from his desk and walked over to the sofa. This was a basic sign of respect the royal family showed guests. It was the first time she was ever treated this way by Emperor Klouse. Desserts and coffee were served, with the butler pouring tea. This was also new in her 5 years of marriage. After being dazed, she got to the point. "The sealed gate. Your Majesty, you should know about it." Strangely, when she said this, the Emperor looked at the butler. Only after the butler nodded slightly did the Emperor say he knew. It seemed something else was happening here. Dolly asked, "Could I please ask you to open that sealed gate?" "To enter the sealed gate, one needs permission from the head of education, Lady Adelaide. But if I get Your Majesty's permission, no one will dare to question my actions." Thinking this, she said again, "To fix my relationship with my son Yuri, I hope that I can open that gate. I am begging you." However, Emperor Klouse was deep in his own thoughts with a very serious face. Once more, she felt a pressure that was suffocating her. "For your own sake." She put the envelopes on the table. "I just found out Yuri wrote me many times, but in 5 years I never got one. For some reason, the letters were hidden away in a storehouse." When he heard these words, the Emperor's expression became very dark. It was obvious that someone was blocking them from behind the scenes, but in this life, she would not let Yuri be harmed by this. And where she could not see, a look of relief appeared on the Emperor's face. He thought, so that is it. She came for Yuri. But when Dolly looked up at him again, the Emperor returned to his cold expression. This also made her feel more determined. "Until you agree, I will not be going anywhere. I won't let anyone be an obstacle between me and my son." The Emperor paused. He did not want Dolly to have too much contact with Yuri. But her firm attitude made it hard for him to say no. "Then you may do as you wish," she asked. "Does that mean you agree to my request?" He replied, "Didn't you just say you would not leave here until I agreed?" This wonderful day had finally arrived for her. She could finally be with her son Yuri, openly. "Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Now please allow me to leave." But the Emperor stopped her from leaving. "I can agree to open the gate for you, but there is one condition. This is the gate's key. Each time you want to open it, you must come to me for it." Dolly did not know what Emperor Klouse was planning, but when she compared it to being with her son Yuri, none of those other things mattered to her at all. After Dolly left, the Emperor stared at the hand that held the key. A feeling he had lost long ago returned. After she received the Emperor's permission, she eagerly went to the sealed gate once again. "His Majesty gave me the key for this gate. Can you please help me open it?" This time, the guards did not waste any of their words. The sealed gate finally opened. This was a sign that changes to the future had now officially started. Inside the garden, she looked for her son right away. But the garden servants had been given instructions. Not one of them would tell her where Yuri was. Not until she searched the whole garden and was covered in sweat did she find that small boy near the flower bed. At that moment, she looked at the letter in her hand. "They say ladies like flowers. Mother, would you like to go pick flowers with me? I am looking forward to your reply." She very gently called out her son's name, Yuri. Yuri did not expect his mother would be able to come inside again. Then he looked at the letter. It was one he had written to his mother, Dolly. Feeling very guilty, she told her son, "I am so sorry. It took me this long to see your letter. I will read every letter you have written, I promise." For a brief moment, Yuri's eyes became filled with hopeful anticipation. But then, he quickly hid his true emotions once again, even while his mother was talking and praising him. Just then, he suddenly looked toward a corner with panic. Then he quickly stood up and said to his mother, "I really have to go right now." After he said that, he ran away without ever looking back, even when his mother was pleading with tears behind him. "Yuri, my dear child, Mommy really does miss you so very much." Her sad and gloomy mood continued until the following morning. "Was I too sudden yesterday? Did my actions make Yuri feel uncomfortable? But all of those letters that he wrote to me, he must have thought of me when he wrote them. If I wasn't reborn, I would not have known. He also wanted his mother's love. It seems I should be more careful." A child's heart is much more fragile and very sensitive than most adults believe. She thought, "My child, I have made you suffer so much." Thinking about all of this, she decided she needed to pull herself together. "I have to make up for the 5-year gap between us." She went again to the Emperor's door. His words were echoing in her head. "You must get the key from me each and every time." But at the moment she finally gathered her courage to knock on the door, a sharp voice suddenly called out, "His Majesty, the Emperor Klouse, is not in the city at the moment. He went to inspect the Bird of Asia territory. You must have already known about this, Empress Dolly." Her expression became especially ugly when she heard this at this moment, because the person speaking was Lady Adelaide, the Emperor's aunt. She was the main person who took Yuri from her. Dolly had almost no contact with the Emperor for 5 years. She could easily detect the mean sarcasm in Lady Adelaide's voice. "I see. I will come back another time," Lady Adelaide said. "If you want to go inside, I can open the door for you." Dolly turned around to look at Lady Adelaide with complete disbelief. She did not believe for a moment that she could be so kind. But Lady Adelaide wrote a permit for her. "Here, take this permit to the gatekeeper. Then you will be able to go in and out freely." It was obvious charity, but it was also exactly what Dolly wanted. Yet the moment she touched the permit, Lady Adelaide let it go with a very cruel and malicious smile. Then she dropped it and stepped on it with her foot. "No matter what, you are not fit to get involved in matters about the Crown Prince's important education. The Prince's education, by our tradition, is managed by the female relatives who come from the south. Have you possibly forgotten the words His Majesty the Emperor said to you on that day? How could the Empress of a nation be so easily shamed and humiliated by another powerful woman?" But what could she possibly do, since she was so powerless? Lady Adelaide said, "I hope certain people here know their proper place." Dolly still lowered her head to pick up the permit. In this city, Lady Adelaide had great power. Fighting with her now was not a smart decision. Since she learned from her past mistakes, she was much more careful. She secretly watched her son Yuri's every single move until she saw something very unusual while he was eating his meal quietly. Yuri had accidentally knocked half of a fresh tomato off his plate. A servant quickly picked it up but did not look Yuri in the eye. This happened even when Yuri said sorry to her. It was planned isolation. He had no one to trust. Yuri seemed so helpless at this moment. Seeing this broke her heart. And Yuri, when no one else was there, would hide an apple and run to the flower bed. Following him, she was a little confused. Isn't this the same place that Yuri came to yesterday? Not until she saw a little dog suddenly run out from the flower bed, and her son took out the apple to feed the puppy. Did she finally understand everything? Her son Yuri was worried that another person would discover the puppy was there. When she saw the happy face her son made as he played with the little puppy, a sharp pain hit her heart. In the whole castle, maybe this secret friend was the only thing that made her son smile. Seeing her son looking so happy, she decided she should do something. That's it. Some milk. He would probably enjoy some milk, but nobody would have guessed that John was hidden in a corner right behind her. Not long after Dolly had left, Yuri got a visitor he did not want. Lady Adelaide, without saying a word, asked for a stick from a servant. Yuri knew his biggest fears were now real, but he still stood to protect the puppy. I'm sorry. He is my friend. Take it away. At her command, a disgusted servant picked up the small puppy by the back of its neck, and to protect his friend, Yuri tried to resist her once more. Grand Aunt, you cannot do this. But the only response that Yuri received was a hard strike from the stick, followed by a very harsh scolding. How disgusting! As the crown prince, you dare to play with a dirty animal. This is unbelievable. I have told you many times that the only thing you must think about is how you will contribute to this nation, she continued. Next, as you should know, you are going to be punished, she ordered. Come here. Now hold out your hand. Fear, despair, and a feeling of numbness. These three different expressions appeared on Yuri's face all at once. He expertly rolled up his own sleeve, and in response, Lady Adelaide showed a very triumphant and cruel smile. She raised the stick high in her hand with a grim face. Stop! Meanwhile, somewhere else on the other side, the Emperor's group was just then returning from their inspection tour. A guard said, Welcome back, Your Majesty, the Emperor Klouse. The Emperor asked, What has happened in the castle since I have been gone? After the guard's report, the Emperor sighed. He was becoming more and more disappointed with his aunt, Lady Adelaide. She was acting recklessly. Back inside of the castle walls, at the exact moment that Lady Adelaide was preparing to strike Yuri, Dolly shielded her son just in time. Lady Adelaide, what are you doing? Empress Dolly, you have not forgotten the advice I gave you, have you? After she finished speaking these words, she looked at the servant next to her. The servant understood and said, Because His Highness, the Crown Prince, acted strangely, I followed and found him feeding a stray dog. These cold words made Yuri tremble, but Dolly knew that the puppy was her son's only friend. So where did you take the poor puppy? A dirty beast like that would be disposed of right away. It is likely in the incinerator already. Dolly watched her son's face become more upset and spoke to stop her. How can you say such cruel words in front of a young child? Shut up. Lady Adelaide showed the Empress Dolly no respect at all. She pointed the stick at her face while she ranted. I am the one appointed by His Majesty to be in charge of the Crown Prince's education. Of course, I am also responsible for removing all bad things around the prince. A girl from a baron's family dares to talk back? If you continue to be so rude, you will suffer. Yuri could not stand to see his mother shamed like this. Please do not say anything more, mother. I am sorry. It is all my fault. It is because of me that you are now being scolded. The heartache she felt was impossible to describe. My child. No, you have done absolutely nothing wrong. She watched her dear son sob without any control. As the Empress, Dolly finally snapped. Forget my past life. To be reborn and still be controlled by this old witch, I would rather not live. No, it is your fault. Lady Adelaide was still making things worse. Your Highness, it is because of your foolish actions that the stray dog was killed. Numbness, hope, and despair came one after another. Yuri was shocked into a state of total numbness. How arrogant Lady Adelaide was now. Would decide how miserable she would become later. How pathetic to cry tears for a simple stray dog. Dali yelled, "Shut up! The pathetic one in this place is you, you old witch!" The whole garden was in complete chaos. No one ever expected the humiliated empress would finally explode like this. "It is one thing for you to completely disapprove of my birth, but as this child's mother, I will not tolerate your disrespect for him anymore. He is crying for a puppy, which shows that he is a kind person. In contrast, are you so focused on your royal title that you forgot the basic kindness we should have as people?" As she spoke, she comforted her son. "And one more thing about the letters Yuri sent me. For some reason, they only arrived a few days ago. And the person who ordered servants to hide the letters in the storeroom from me, Lady Adelaide, that person was you, was it not?" Yuri finally understood the true reason why his mother had never replied to any of his letters. "My, what are you talking about?" Sure that the empress had no proof, she sneered. "Those from baronet families are just commoners." The words just left her mouth when the empress grabbed her arm. "How strange! How is it all of Yuri's letters have the same perfume that you wear?" Hearing this, Lady Adelaide reacted right away. "I have never been treated with such disrespect before." To hide the truth, she quickly changed the subject. "His Majesty, Emperor Klouse, is my nephew. What do you think would happen if he ever found out about this?" This was something Dali had not considered. Even though she was the empress, she knew she had no influence with the emperor. "Who is it that is calling me?" The sudden voice startled absolutely everyone present. When they all saw that it was His Majesty, the Emperor Klouse, Lady Adelaide changed her story and tone immediately, telling him about the humiliation she claimed to have suffered from the empress. Empress Dali, with a very serious expression, stood to protect her son Yuri. In her view, because the emperor made Lady Adelaide her son's head of education, he would surely be on Adelaide's side. But a surprising outcome arrived just as Lady Adelaide looked at her with a smug face. The Emperor Klouse spoke with a very dark expression. "Let go of her hand. I said, let go of her with your filthy hand. Did you not hear me?" This sudden change of events completely stunned Lady Adelaide. The Empress and her son were also very surprised. "What do you mean by this?" he replied. "What do I mean? I had my men investigate you a long time ago. You used my name with that tone. Regarding the sealed gate, it seems you did many tricks behind my back. While I was away, you were hurting the Crown Prince and taking his letters. Do you think I know nothing?" When he said all of this, Lady Adelaide started to completely panic. "You are my late mother's only living family member. Out of respect for her and for old times, I have tolerated so much from you. But it appears that our connection must end right here. Based upon your actions, I have now decided to sentence you to death." "What did you just say?" Lady Adelaide could not have imagined this kind of outcome. She felt terrified. "Your Majesty, I am begging you for your mercy. Please forgive me. Please spare my life." The words from a ruler are like water that is spilled. They are impossible to take back. The Emperor Klouse did not even bother to look at her again one more time. But at that moment, Empress Dali called out to him. "Disrespecting the royal family is a very serious crime. As the emperor, I cannot tolerate this kind of behavior." "Yes, I understand. But I think taking away her power and sending her out of the city would be more fitting." The Emperor Klouse was just about to refuse her request. But then he saw the very worried look on his son Yuri's face, and he hesitated. He knew his son was worried he would make things hard for his mother, Dali. The emperor asked Lady Adelaide, "Aren't you going to thank the empress?" After he spoke, the emperor left them without looking back once. Hearing this, Lady Adelaide at once crawled on the ground before her. "Your Majesty, Empress Dali, thank you for your mercy. I, Adelaide, will give you all my loyalty." Her eyes turned very cold. "I was not pleading for you. I did all of this for you. If you died just like that, Yuri would think it was his fault and take all of the blame on himself." After she calmed herself down, she turned around to face Lady Adelaide. With a gentle smile on her face, she spoke the coldest words. "Did you know that in the north there is a place called North Cadra, which is known as the Ice Prison, and it puts fear into the hearts of criminals? Death there is the sweetest word to any criminal. Starting tomorrow, pack up your things and go to the North Cadra Monastery." Lady Adelaide could only think that this Empress Dali's ways were terrifyingly cruel. With that finished, she took her son's hand. Yuri, let us go now. For the very first time, Yuri saw someone who was willing to stand up for him. And that person was his mother, Adelaide, whom he had not seen in 5 long years. He then squeezed his mother's hand just a little bit tighter. After they had returned to the main castle, she continued to comfort her son. First of all, I am sorry. Mommy was not in time to save your puppy. Yuri knew it was not his mother's fault. But why was she apologizing to him? Under Lady Adelaide's 5 long years of very cruel and villainous education, Yuri had formed a habit of thinking when something went wrong, it was because he did not do well enough and it was his fault. A sudden woof from nearby made both of them freeze in place. They wondered, could it possibly be? Pardon me, I've come to deliver something for His Highness, Yuri. Yes? The puppy is alive. Lulu, it is really Lulu. Because of Lady Adelaide's recent strange behavior, I was assigned to secretly watch her every move. Because of this, I was able to save this little life. I also have a message from His Majesty the Emperor. If the Crown Prince wants to adopt it, he can keep it in the castle. When she heard this, she felt very happy for her son, Yuri. Now, her son's secret friend no longer needed to be hidden. Your Majesty, the Empress, my name is John. I am the Colonel of the 5th Unit of the Iranian Empire. I look forward to working with you. Dolly knew John, and she knew he was not as simple as he seemed. It was not an exaggeration to call him the Emperor's right-hand man. In her past life, no one ever paid attention to her. Only John would go out of his way to show his respects to her. Thinking of this, she decided she would ask John for a small favor. Don't be fooled by his happy smile now. He will be crying his eyes out later. Because the favor was asking John to tell the Emperor to give her the real power of the inner palace. But John already knew this would be simply impossible to achieve. The reason the Emperor coldly let Adelaide take the prince and treated Dolly so badly was because he knew his cousin, Duke Stragov, had always wanted his throne. Duke Stragov wanted his own son to become the next emperor. If the Emperor allowed Dolly to raise the crown prince, then a child who was raised by a person from a baronet family versus a child raised by a person of ducal family background, and also a child that was raised personally by the emperor himself. It was very obvious who would have a much better chance of taking the throne in the future. So after he separated her and Crown Prince Yuri, he also took away her decision-making power in the inner palace as the Empress. All of this was done to prevent her and Crown Prince Yuri from having any kind of possible contact with each other. But this led to the day when Crown Prince Yuri took the throne, and then he decisively executed his own mother, with whom he had no emotional connection. Now that she had been reborn into the past, she wanted to change her son's future and her own future. The first step was getting decision-making power within the inner palace to personally manage Crown Prince Yuri's development. That is why when John heard the Empress wanted him to give this request to the Emperor, his expression became so grim, since he knew that the Emperor would not agree to do it. Just a moment before, after learning his secret friend Lulu was still alive, Yuri was very happy. But when he saw the maidservants washing Lulu, he felt conflicted. He also wanted to bathe Lulu, but he did not dare. Because of Lady Adelaide's 5 long years of education with the rod, Yuri's way of thinking had already been solidified for a long time. He thought that as the noble crown prince, he should look down on such simple and lowly tasks. However, his mother, Dolly, saw all of this happening. She knew changing her son's mind would not happen quickly, so she decided to be an example for him by rolling up her sleeves to bathe Lulu. But she received opposition from a maidservant. How could we trouble Your Majesty the Empress with this? This maidservant's attitude was very different from before. Was it due to Lady Adelaide's fall from her power? Since they have learned their lesson, I will not make things hard for them. She replied, It is all right. This is Yuri's most important and treasured friend. Seeing that she had taken the initial step, she called to her son. Yuri, do you want to come and watch him? Lulu was looking forward to you giving him a bath. That incredibly adorable and goofy look from Lulu. Just as expected, it won Yuri over. He ran towards them with very joyful steps, and this was precisely what Dolly had wanted to see, as they both gave Lulu his final rinse. They discovered with some surprise that Lulu was actually very cute underneath all of that dirt. Helping Yuri become a person with emotions was her first important step. It was very clear that she had succeeded. Not too far away, John reported to His Majesty the Emperor. Your Majesty, that dog was very dirty. After being washed, it is like a different dog. Is that right? The Emperor said. sounding unconvinced by the report. "But if your Majesty did not order me to watch Lady Adelaide, that dog would likely be dead by now. I wish your Majesty saw the sight of me rescuing the puppy from the maidservants. Don't push your luck. But speaking of that, your Majesty, has Lady Adelaide been punished? The North Cadra Monastery has already received her into its custody." John shivered when he heard those words. He thought, she might as well be dead then. John said, "Your methods are just as ruthless as they have ever been." The Emperor replied, "The Empress Dolly recommended that place." John thought, well, that is another incredible turn of events. Again, the Emperor sensed something was not right. Only then did John relay what the Empress asked. "Her Majesty, the Empress Dolly, wants all the decision-making power in the inner palace." The Emperor Klouse was very stunned when he heard this. Then he said coldly, "That is completely impossible." John thought to himself, I knew that would be his answer. Returning the inner palace's decision-making power to the Empress means giving her the duty of educating the Crown Prince. John, can you be certain the House of Stragoff won't use this as an opportunity to get themselves involved? I am afraid they would wait for the right time to turn against Yuri. I will not let that man's son get the throne. John wanted to say something else in support of the Empress, but Emperor Klouse had already finished writing out his reply, and he had John deliver the note directly to the Empress. After he saw what was written on the note, John's face fell because it said, "You want custody of the Crown Prince? In your dreams." Meanwhile, after spending the entire day playing with her son, Dolly was thinking back. Her son Yuri's smile was so very endearing. But as she was smiling to herself, her own smile faded. In my last life, Yuri would have already lost Lulu by this time. But back then, I did not even notice anything wrong at all. I let Yuri live every single day in pain, and I did nothing for him. I was a truly unfit mother. But I swear I will not let Yuri show a sad face again. A sudden knock at the door pulled her back from her deep thoughts. "Your Majesty, the Empress Dolly, it is Emma. Are you available to talk right now?" After Dolly opened the door, she saw a small boy hiding behind Emma. "Yuri, what are you doing here?" she asked. "What is it, my dear child?" "Mother, I have something I need to say to you. I am very sorry for running away earlier without saying goodbye. And you also helped me bathe Lulu. I should be the one you can depend on. But I did not do anything. I am really so sorry." She had wondered what this was about. She leaned down and gently stroked her son's small head. She said, "It is okay. Lulu was probably still in the garden at that time, right? You were worried Lulu would be in danger if someone discovered him, so you were scared and ran away. You did the right thing," she told him. Seeing that his mother did not blame him for his actions, Yuri's worried heart was finally able to be put at ease. "Mother, there is just one more thing I need to say. Can you go and look at the flowers with me again?" Faced with her son's sweet invitation, how could Dolly ever refuse him? She smiled and made a new promise with her son. She said, "Yuri, even though you carry many important duties on your shoulders, and you have to endure them all alone and in complete silence, if it is at all possible, I really hope that I can share your worries and help lighten your burden." Yuri nodded his head silently. Just then, the usually quiet Emma suddenly spoke up to him. "Lord Yuri, did you forget to say something else?" Yuri seemed to remember something and quickly searched through his bag. But he stopped what he was doing halfway. Seeing this, Dolly did not rush him, but instead she gently caressed her young son's cheek with her hand. "Don't be nervous, my dear Yuri," she said softly. "If you have anything at all that you want to say, just say it. For example, you could say that Lulu was very energetic today, or that I had a scary dream, or the sky is beautiful. You can say anything you want. I am always looking forward to you sharing things with me. Just being able to hear your voice makes me feel so happy." As she finished speaking, she took her son Yuri's hand in hers. After receiving his mother's comfort, Yuri's expression brightened up a great deal. In the end, he still did not say what he wanted to say. Actually, Dolly could guess what her son wanted to say. Maybe it was about the upcoming Imperial Glory Festival. A married couple, but single for 20 years. But they have an adorable son, even though they share the same bed every night. Nothing at all ever happens. When morning comes, her husband is nowhere to be found. So, it is essentially like she is sleeping all alone. But today is a very special day. It is her precious son, Yuri's, 6th birthday celebration. So Dali brought Emma in early in the morning to help plan for the birthday party. Without having startup funds, Dali had no choice but to use a necklace she treasured for many years. Emma looked very worried. Your Majesty, the Empress Dali, are you completely sure about doing this? This necklace was a part of your dowry from His Majesty the Emperor Klouse. If His Majesty, the Emperor, finds out about this, he will be angry. Dali had, of course, already considered what Emma said. After all, she had not yet officially gotten back her decision-making power in the inner palace. The amount of funds that she had available were not very large, and there was really no point at all in keeping something that she could not use. In the past, this necklace inspired her to play the role of the Empress well. But now she could continue on with determination. Even without it. Right, this is something for you. Dali took out a beautiful red lotus brooch, which was clearly very valuable at first glance. At the moment that Emma was about to refuse the gift, she was quickly interrupted by, Dali, when I saw Yuri yesterday, I noticed he is very close to you. Knowing this child is looked after puts my heart at ease. So please, you must accept it. Please consider it to be a gift of my thanks. Besides that, doesn't Yuri really like flowers? He will love it if you wear this flower-shaped brooch. Saying this, she pinned it on Emma. As if she was sensing Her Majesty the Empress's kindness, Emma felt a very deep sense of shame and self-reproach. She had also once failed to protect somebody important because of her fear of power. Could Her Majesty the Empress possibly forgive her? Even with that, Emma, I will have to trouble you to look after Yuri from now on. Emma nodded her head solemnly. I swear it. From this day on, I will serve Her Majesty the Empress with all of my heart. Dali smiled with a feeling of deep satisfaction, and after that, the two of them began to think about what kind of gift to prepare for Yuri, since the day of the Imperial Glory Festival was getting closer. They needed to prepare a shield for him. This was a very long-standing and important tradition of the royal family. Whenever a royal child turned the age of 6, their parents would give them a sword and a shield, which symbolized trust and love to show their royal status, hoping that the young child would learn how to stand on their own 2 feet and contribute to the nation's future. For this task, Emma sought out 2 famous merchants who were in the imperial city. Your Majesty the Empress, you really have no idea what has happened. Shields have been selling so well lately that they have all gone out of stock. But just for you, I have brought out my most treasured and valuable item. This is the most famous blue shield in our city. Do you think this shield is good enough for the Festival of Imperial Glory? The moment the shield was shown, Emma's expression changed. Isn't this a fake? The real blue shield has the royal family crest on it. But this one here has nothing on it at all. Is he looking down on our own royal family? Dali pretended to be thinking about it carefully, as she decided to look at the yellow-haired merchant's dual shield before she made her final decision. The yellow-haired merchant was nervous and dropped to his knees with a thud. I am sorry, Your Majesty, the Empress. The shields I prepared are not worthy of His Highness the Crown Prince Yuri. And with that, the answer was obvious. The bald merchant thought to himself, Kid, you really do know your own place. Knowing that you cannot compete with my shield, you simply gave up. But in the next moment, Dali told the bald merchant to leave, but she kept the yellow-haired merchant there. The bald merchant was totally confused, not understanding at all what was happening. You must have put a lot of thought into choosing these items for the Crown Prince. Thank you for your hard work. She added, we probably will not be seeing each other ever again. After she said this, Dali left the room without a backward glance. The bald merchant did not forget to mock them as they left. I don't know what you are all thinking. You can't even see the value of these goods. No wonder she's from a baron's house. With that, he turned his eyes to Emma nearby, seeing that the lady had very fair skin. The next moment, he reached for her with his lecherous hands. It must be very tough for you following a master like that. He asked her, why don't you come and work for me instead? Before he could even finish his entire sentence, Emma slapped him hard right across the face. Did you not hear Her Majesty the Empress? She specifically called for you, yet you could only show such a low-quality product. What a completely useless oaf you are. Please do not show yourself before Her Majesty again. The very sight of you is disgusting. You bald donkey! The bald merchant was stunned by the scolding, watching helplessly as the large doors were closed. Meanwhile, after returning to the palace, Emma bowed to the Empress to apologize. I am truly sorry, Your Majesty the Empress. I was the one who located that merchant for you. She said, please, you must punish me. Emma squeezed her eyes tightly shut, waiting for the punishment that would befall her. But after waiting for a very long time, all that came out was a jack-in-the-box toy. Dolly said, "I scared you, didn't I? With so many lovely gifts here, why would I ever punish you? I only asked you to help me find a gift for him earlier. Don't you worry, I have my own method for handling the current shield situation." At that moment, the quiet yellow-haired merchant suddenly spoke up. "Your Majesty, the Empress. A few days ago, I saw Duke Stragoff buying all of the shields and swords in the country to find a shield that is suitable for His Highness, the Crown Prince Yuri. I am afraid that it will not be easy to find one." In truth, Empress Dolly already knew about all of this information. In her past life, Duke Stragoff had done the very same thing. All of it was to make Yuri look like a complete fool at the Festival of Imperial Glory, so that his own son would be able to become the next heir to the throne. "It is fine. I already have a promising lead on the shield, so there is no need for you to worry at all. Since we have all of the gifts ready to go, it is time to decorate the party venue." In the past festivals of Imperial Glory, she had never once seen Yuri smile, but in this life, she would change everything. Yuri never would have possibly imagined that his mother Dolly, who had always been so very cold to him, would suddenly become so very kind and thoughtful to him. So much so that his little face still looked quite gloomy at his own birthday banquet. Dolly had actually expected this outcome, because when John went to get Yuri for the party, no one had told Yuri that it was actually his birthday today. It was all done to give him a big surprise, as everyone applauded together for him. Little Yuri's expression finally changed. "Happy birthday, Yuri! Come and blow out the candles." Little Yuri did as he was told. As all of the birthday candles were finally extinguished, the birthday party then officially began. It started with giving gifts. "Yuri, this is a cake that I specially made for you. These are the new toys I got for Yuri." Someone else said, "Wait, I have one here too. This is a flower that will never wilt that I picked." He was staring at the huge mountain of gifts before him. Little Yuri's eyes became wide with surprise. "Happy 6th birthday, Yuri!" But before the words were even finished, little Yuri hung his head down low. Everyone was confused, thinking Yuri did not like the gifts they gave him when they went up to ask him. Little Yuri waved his hands. "No, it is not like that at all," he explained. "Actually, this is the first time anyone has ever celebrated my birthday. But today, I did not even finish all of my studies. I answered a question incorrectly on my homework. Also, my sword practice was not perfect. This celebration feels too fancy for me. Do I truly deserve all of this?" Yuri trembled while he confessed his feelings. Suddenly, his mother Dolly called to him. "Yuri, you only answered one question wrong. That's amazing." Right after that, a small blue penguin appeared before him. "This little penguin is the present I made for you. Did you know, Yuri? Penguins are creatures that love their family and friends very much. All the people standing beside you right now love you. They are always thinking about you. We are all your friends. I am hoping that starting from today, Yuri can live happily with all the people you love. For that purpose, I made this penguin myself. Will you accept it?" After receiving his mother's guidance, Yuri's internal conflict was at last resolved. He hugged the small penguin very tightly. Finally, a long-lost smile appeared on his face. "Thank you so much, Mother. I have received the gift. If so, Mother, can I remain in today forever?" Seeing her son had misunderstood, Dolly quickly added more. "Yuri, there is one more thing. Penguins are very hardworking creatures. You also need to move forward bravely." Yuri shook his head, pretending to be serious. "I do not think I am very hardworking." Before he finished, the maid Emma interrupted him. "What are you saying? Yuri, you work much harder than anyone." John also added his thoughts. "That is correct, Your Highness. You work much harder than me. Is that true? Really? Yuri, so this penguin will be your friend. Now that the issue is solved, we can continue the party." For the remainder of the time, Yuri was not reserved anymore. He completely relaxed and enjoyed himself. He ate some cake, played some card games, and played late before sleeping. Even while he was dreaming, he was cutting cake for Lulu. Dolly was watching her sleeping son and felt her heart melt. She tucked him in gently and then closed the door, ignoring the sharp pain in her hands. Dolly sighed and then touched her forehead. "I have not done needlework for a long time. Even just sewing a penguin made my hands get pricked. It seems I must find some time for practice. She recalled the last time she sewed was after she married in her past life. In those days, her cold husband would ask her every month what she learned. She may have mistaken his questions about her classes for actual concern. During her previous life, she had foolishly presented that man an embroidery she made herself. In the end, it was not surprising at all that the only thing she received back were his cold words. I do not want this. Please do not waste your time on useless things like this again. From that day forward, she did not ever do needlework again. When Dolly returned to reality, a familiar face was suddenly standing right before her. It could not be just a coincidence. Klouse slowly walked closer to Dolly. Is there anything I can assist you with, Your Majesty? Before Dolly could finish speaking, Klouse swept her into his arms. Dolly was like a scared rabbit, with her eyes wide. Your Majesty, what are you doing right now? As she was speaking, Klouse had already put his own forehead against hers. Do you have a fever? Dolly frowned with confusion. It is truly hot. What was wrong with him today? He was not the type who cared about her. What is it that you have been doing? Do you not know the festival of imperial glory is nearly here? It was just as she thought. He was not worried about her. He was just worried if the festival could go on smoothly. I have been doing needlework. Since I haven't done it recently, my hands are a little clumsy. I did some more of it tonight, so I may have caught a chill. After she finished speaking, Klouse stared at her very fiercely. Needlework? Why do you waste your time doing such a useless thing? Dolly was so angry with this man, she could have died. You ask me the reason? Because today is Yuri's birthday. You likely think that remembering his birthday is completely meaningless. Before the festival begins, I will try my very best to recover. I am very sorry for troubling you. Is there anything else I can help with, Your Majesty? Klouse did not look at her, but instead rose and coldly prepared to leave. Nothing. We will discuss it later. But Dahlia's temper was as stubborn as it had ever been. She stopped Klouse just as he was preparing to open the door and exit. No, I want to hear it right now. Klouse could not win, so he turned around. Did you read the letter John delivered? Dolly pretended to think. John had certainly given her a letter. But it happened after the party. She did not have an opportunity to read it yet. Seeing Dahlia's blank face, Klouse repeated the letter's contents to her, as she wanted. I will give you the authority to make decisions for the rear palace. Dolly thought that she had misheard him. She did not expect Klouse to give her the authority of the rear palace so easily. Just as she prepared to show her gratitude to him, Klouse warned her not to celebrate so quickly. While you will have decision-making power in the rear palace, I am still going to be the person who arranges Yuri's tutors. Do you have any objections? Dolly pursed her lips, and her hand tightened on the hem of her clothes without her noticing. I do have an objection. I hope that you will give all of the rights to me, including his education. You certainly have not forgotten what Lady Adelaide has done, right? Klouse replied, and can you promise the person you pick will be trustworthy? Did you consider if spies from Duke Stragoff's house are with them? Once you control his education, all the evil forces in this nation could turn their spears to face you. You are also just a noble lady who has no power. What ability would you have to fight back? Even though Dolly understood his point, she was still worried that if Yuri was not educated the right way, the tragedy from her past life would happen again. Seeing that Dolly remained quiet, Klouse also lost all of his patience and announced the discussion was over for the day. No matter what Dolly said, he ignored her. Dolly shook with anger and finally spoke her mind. Your Majesty, all plans you have for Yuri are from an emperor's view. Have you ever really watched over Yuri as a father? As the future king who will have the nation's responsibility? The crown prince cannot become a person who is manipulated easily. After hearing his explanation, Dolly's heart completely shattered. In other words, you decided to marry me for political reasons, and you raise Yuri for the nation's future. Is that correct? This sentence appeared to hit a nerve with Klouse. He angrily stormed out the door and left. In her heart, Dolly understood everything now. To her husband, Klouse, Yuri was just a tool to protect the country. This was a marriage without love. Having Yuri was just fulfilling her duty as the queen. So why did he look so sad when he was leaving? In the study on the other side of the palace, Klouse stared blankly at the family portrait in front of him. His mind was in a mess, right? Now, was it all wrong? Klouse had wondered many times if he told his wife everything, would she be able to understand him now? The pain from losing family and living a displaced life as a child weighed down on him like a mountain, which made it hard to breathe. To this day, he remembered the helpless and suffocating feeling of his brother dying before him. Klouse had wanted to stop his brother's bleeding, but no matter how hard he tried to, the blood just continued seeping out from the wound. This has since become Klouse's recurring nightmare. So when he later got the handkerchief that Dolly had personally embroidered for him, he did not dare to reach out his hand and accept it. On this particular day, Klouse made a special trip to the training grounds to see his son. Seeing him, the little guy was excited as if he was on adrenaline. He was swinging his sword with all of his might. Sweat was soaking through Yuri's clothes. Klouse watched him very intently, as if he was seeing a past version of himself. John, beside him, could not help but cover his mouth to stop a laugh. "Your Majesty, weren't you always very busy with work before? What made you suddenly decide to find time to watch Prince Yuri?" Before he was able to finish his sentence, he suddenly felt a cold chill run down his spine. He turned his head to meet the icy stare from Klouse. "Shut your mouth! One more word and I will throw you in the toilet for the rest of your life." After hearing this, John knew he should be afraid. He immediately became completely silent as he continued to watch Yuri's swordsmanship. Klouse also saw his problem. When you swing a sword, your mind must be completely still like water. Anxiety will prevent you from calm thinking, and it exposes your weaknesses. You cannot forget this lesson. Maybe because Klouse's voice was so very stern, Yuri was distracted for just a moment, and the sword that was in his hand flew directly towards Emma. Luckily, it was only a wooden sword, and Emma's hand was uninjured. "I am sorry. Your Highness Yuri, I am fine. You do not need to apologize." "Yuri, what were you thinking about right now, during your practice? If that had actually been a real sword, Emma would now be dead by your hand." Yuri had not realized the situation. It was that serious. His eyes turned red right away, and he bowed again and again in apology. "It is okay, Your Highness Yuri. Failure is the mother of all success. Also, Emma's injury is not serious. She will recover after a fast trip to the infirmary." Saying that, she wisely led Emma away from there, leaving Klouse and Yuri some private space. Yuri, trembling, was still upset about his big mistake. An unknown amount of time passed by, and then Klouse finally spoke. "Yuri, you must not forget how you are feeling right now. The fear you have of losing those close to you will push you to become much stronger." In a moment, it was as if Yuri understood something, and the sadness in his heart was gone. He then gave his father a very deep bow. "Father, I finally understand now." Klouse nodded, satisfied. "That is all for the training today. Go back to your room." Watching his sons retreating back, Klouse's heart was aching too. But, to stop his son from following his own path from the past, this was the only way to do it. Klouse was in a very bad mood on this day. He was looking at the family portrait in his hand, and Dolly's image appeared without his control in his mind. "You chose to marry me for political reasons, and you are raising Yuri for the nation's future. Is that correct?" Klouse sighed without any hope. He decided he would apologize to Dolly, but when he got to the Queen's chambers, he then learned that she had gone out very early in the morning. Klouse could not help frowning, looking at the rain outside. He felt worried. So he had a servant prepare a carriage, and he planned to go pick Dolly up. By the time that Klouse finally arrived at the destination, it was late at night. He was just about to raise up his hand to knock. The door was suddenly pushed open by a woman. Dolly looked at her husband's very troubled face and frowned, confused, not knowing why he suddenly appeared here. Just when she was about to ask what was happening, she was then interrupted by the shopkeeper who was behind her. "Miss Dolly, we surely have a lot of customers here today. Whose turn is it right now?" When he saw the person who was at the door clearly, the shopkeeper, Hate, was shocked. "Your Majesty, the Emperor." Klouse gave a slight nod, and then in the next second, he grabbed his wife's hand, prepared to take her home. But Dolly quickly told him to wait. "Your Majesty, I am not yet finished with my business here." "It is fine, Miss Daly. I will accept your request. I'm a man who truly hates to go back on my word, so you can return without any worry. Do not keep Prince Yuri waiting." Since the shopkeeper had said so, Dolly then left with her husband. Before he was leaving, Klouse did not forget to give him a meaningful look. "I will be counting on you for this matter today." He had not expected Klouse to say that to him. In reality, the two had known one another for a long time, and he had been Klouse's mentor when he was just a child. Because of the turbulent times, the Empire was always at war, and they lived a life of being displaced. In one event, the enemy ambushed their camp to cover their retreat. Klouse's older brother was seriously wounded by the attacking enemy. To make sure young Klouse would survive, he had no other choice but to carry him and retreat. After that event, their relationship broke. He had not seen Klouse since that time, and never thought he would have a chance to serve him again. In the carriage on the other side of town, Dolly was thinking again about what had just happened. How did it happen that as soon as Klouse arrived there, shopkeeper Haight agreed to her request? He had been saying no to her before. Could it be they know each other? Well, there was no point thinking about it, since he had agreed. But speaking of that, did this scoundrel truly need to sit so close? The seat was already very small. Perhaps Dolly's unhappiness was too easy to feel? As Klouse turned his head and met her gaze. Why did you go looking for Haight today? I wanted to ask him to create the shield for the Festival of Imperial Glory. After all, the sword and shield that we give to Yuri represent the symbol of the status that is granted to him by the royal family. A shield that was personally forged by Commander Haight would certainly be able to protect Yuri. Well, hearing his wife's explanation, Klouse could not help but roll his eyes. Although the shields Haight makes are truly excellent, that guy is very famous for being stubborn. Dolly nodded her head in agreement. She had first thought the rumor that Commander Haight was more stubborn than a beast's fangs was only an exaggeration, but it turned out to be the truth. Klouse did not reply. He had seen it with his own eyes when he was a child. But more importantly, why did your Majesty suddenly come here? As soon as she asked the question, Klouse turned his head away from her, choosing to remain quiet. This truly infuriated Dolly. The scoundrel was the same as always, becoming quiet when he faced a question he did not want to answer. But in the next second, a brand new set of keys appeared in front of her. Now that Lady Adelaide is gone, these keys for the gate are not needed anymore. Why don't you hold on to them for a while? Dolly stared at the keys in her hand, frowning with confusion. Did he travel all this way, just to give me these keys? In the blink of an eye, they had arrived back at the Imperial Palace. The first thing that Klouse did after he got out of the carriage was to personally help his wife get down. Dolly was a little in disbelief. Was this still the same scoundrel she knew? How had he suddenly become so thoughtful? As the Festival of Imperial Glory was getting closer, everyone inside the palace was doing their duties, afraid of making even a small mistake. Even Yuri was not an exception, and John was energetic as always. Your Highness Yuri, you are finally going to make your debut in front of everyone. This is a day truly worth celebrating. Behind this very door, there are thousands of people eagerly waiting for Your Highness Yuri's grand entrance. Before he was able to finish, Yuri was completely scared, stiff. Emma could not bear to watch it anymore. She finally burst out, Colonel John, can you please stop talking? Can't you see you're making Prince Yuri more nervous? Just then, Dolly was drawn over by the noise. The moment he saw his mother, Yuri immediately regained his spirit. Mother, what will happen if I fail at the Festival of Imperial Glory? Dolly pretended to think. If that really happens, then you must just pick yourself up again. Yuri was very surprised by his mother's words, thinking, that is the most sacred Festival of Imperial Glory. How could I possibly mess it up? Actually, I have heard all about it. You accidentally hurt Emma during your training. What were you thinking about at that time? I felt very sorry for her. Then, Yuri, you should look at Emma's expression now. And as she was speaking, Emma also smiled and raised her right hand up. Your Highness Yuri, I have already fully recovered. I received all of your concern for me. But seeing you feel so sad makes me feel even sadder. Yuri, when you are facing failure, reflection is a required path to success. But failure does not mean the sky is falling. There will be other opportunities in the future. Besides that, no one can do everything perfectly from the very beginning. What is important is to learn from your failure and continue to improve. Faced with the encouragement from everyone, Yuri slowly regained his own confidence. Just at that moment, Klouse walked in and told everyone that it was almost time. As he gave a signal to the butler, the Festival of Imperial Glory officially started. Klouse also made his grand entrance wearing formal clothes. Today, the palace was full of royal relatives and many nobles, who gathered to see if the young Prince Yuri could inherit his father's title. Just as they had suspected, Prince Harry's behavior was exactly the same as the young Emperor Klouse's, except that his hair color was inherited from Her Majesty the Queen, a fact that many people were very unhappy about. Clothes really do make the man. Look at her, so proud, who doesn't know? She was once just a useless girl from a baron's family. If it was not for the Emperor, would she have her status? Before they were able to say more, they saw His Majesty the Emperor, looking at them with a cold stare. Now no one dared to speak another word, and they all bowed down to wish Prince Yuri a happy birthday. During the whole event, Dali's attention was focused on her son's every move. Although Yuri appeared a bit nervous, she was sure that in the future, more and more people would recognize her son's high status. Perhaps because he sensed his mother's intense gaze, Yuri gave his mother a very brilliant smile. In that moment, Dali felt her heart melt. At the same time, the butler told the Emperor that it was time to prepare for the next agenda item. And not very long after Klouse had left, some uninvited guests suddenly arrived inside the Great Hall. It was none other than Duke Stragoff, who competed with Klouse for the throne. Your Highness the Crown Prince, it is an honor for me to attend your celebration. Looking at you right now, I cannot help but be reminded of when my son Lucas first attended a formal event. Compared to then, he has barely improved, and he surely cannot compare to you at all now. As he was speaking, he did not forget to pat his son beside him. My apologies, Your Highness. My father always loves to mention the fact that I only started to learn swordsmanship with a real sword when I was 5. To tease me as a joke. He says if I were an outstanding royal, I would have been able to handle a real sword easily at 5. Of course, I am sure, Your Highness, the Crown Prince is already practicing with a real sword now. Seeing the Crown Prince stay completely silent, Duke Stragoff could not help but smirk. He then continued to lecture his son. What are you talking about, Lucas? Can't you see the outstanding Crown Prince is feeling troubled? Right, Your Majesty the Queen. I heard that Lady Adelaide has already left the castle. You must have found a tutor who is even more outstanding. If it is possible, could you recommend them to my son too? After everything that had just happened, Dali finally understood. Duke Stragoff did not come to attend the celebration today, but to cause a lot of trouble. In response to this, Dali refused to be outdone, and she smilingly told him to find a tutor who was suitable for him. The meaning was that his family's education was not at the same level as Yuri's. After hearing this direct reply, Duke Stragoff just sneered, and the conversation ended after a few more pleasantries. Following this brief interlude, it was now time for the most important part of the Festival of Imperial Glory. The parents' bestowal of the sword and shield, symbols of trust and love, upon Yuri. First, Emperor Klouse bestowed the sword that symbolized trust. This part of the ceremony went very smoothly, but when it was Dali's turn, she found that the shield prepared for Yuri was now missing. The servants looked everywhere for it, but found no trace of the shield. Just when everyone thought that all was lost, Dali appeared to be remarkably calm. As I expected, the shield was stolen. She still remembered how in her past life, due to Duke Stragoff's mass purchases, it was almost impossible to buy a shield in the country. In the end, she was forced to purchase one from a nearby country, but it was stolen unexpectedly before it could be given to the Crown Prince. Just as the ceremony was about to be completely ruined, Lady Adelaide suddenly produced a low-quality shield from somewhere, insisting that she take it. At the time she thought of resisting, but in order to not ruin the Festival of Imperial Glory, she could only prepare herself and go up on the stage. After that particular incident, an even bigger rift had formed between her and Yuri. Later, she tried to find the thief, but the person seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth, leaving no trace behind. Was she fated to repeat the exact same mistake this time, seeing that Her Majesty the Queen was preparing to take the stage? Emma thought about searching again, but was stopped by Dali. It's all right. Leave the rest to me. From the moment she walked into the Great Hall, everyone was curious. Why was the Queen not carrying anything? Could it be that she did not love the Crown Prince? The crowd's whispers were not loud, but some of it still reached Yuri's ears. Perhaps seeing her son's worry, Dali comforted him very softly. My dear Yuri, it is all right. Trust your mother. Just as she was speaking to him, the great doors were suddenly pushed wide open. The person entering was none other than the greatest hero of the Empire, Sir Hate, the Knight. My apologies to all of you for keeping you all waiting. It appears that I am just in time. As he spoke those words, he was already kneeling down before Her Majesty the Queen. Everyone was confused by Sir Hate's actions, not understanding what he was doing. The next second, a brand new shield appeared before the crowd. Here, I present this shield to Her Majesty the Queen, to show my loyalty to His Highness the Crown Prince. After the handover ceremony was finally completed, the Festival of Imperial Glory officially came to an end. Everyone was very happy to have witnessed this historic moment, except for Duke Stragov, who walked out of the Great Hall with a dark expression. Is Duke Stragov leaving already? Did something unpleasant happen to you? Seeing it was His Majesty the Emperor, Duke Stragov immediately changed his tone. How could that be? In fact, seeing His Highness the Crown Prince in such a heroic form has brought me great comfort. But what was most surprising is that the son of the feared Emperor won the favor of the Empire's hero. In the face of Duke Stragov's provocation, Klouse just scoffed at him. Yes. At least we are not like some lowly bloodlines that only use despicable methods like theft. Seeing his plan was exposed, Duke Stragov was not flustered at all, and continued to act dumb. Your Majesty, I do not understand what you are saying. I am very sorry. I have some other business to attend to, so I must leave now. However, my son will be staying for the ball. Please look after him. Watching Duke Stragov's retreating figure, Klouse became silent. Meanwhile, Dali was still worried about the shield incident. Although she knew the theft of the shield was surely the work of Duke Stragov, he left no traces behind, making it impossible to convict him for the crime. But thankfully, the next shield handover ceremony was completed with great success. Just as Dali was finally breathing a sigh of relief, Yuri suddenly popped his head out. Mother, thank you so much for giving me this very beautiful shield. Seeing that her son liked it, Dali was also very happy. Her smile was so radiant, it caused the little one to blush uncontrollably. Every time he saw his mother's smile, he would feel a warmth in his chest. His mother was a magician. Dali smiled and nodded her head. Then she picked Yuri up. I did not think you would figure it out. Then let me cast another spell for you. Look, isn't this garden beautiful? The magic that warms your chest is something you can learn too, Yuri. Whenever you feel happy, the magic will be cast on its own. When I talk with you, Yuri, I feel that same warmth in my heart too. Yuri's eyes widened with amazement. He never imagined the magic that could warm a person's chest would be so simple. All right, it is getting late now. We should head back. I hear there is a ball tonight. The moment that he heard there was a ball, Yuri became very nervous. Mother, may I have a dance with you? When he learned his wife's first dance was not with him but with their son, the Emperor's jealousy flared up. Why did she not choose him? He had already refused all of the other ladies. Was his clothing today not handsome enough? Compared to the Emperor's anxiety, his son appeared to be remarkably calm. I get to dance with Mother soon. I am so excited. Before Yuri could think about it further, a cold voice interrupted his thoughts. Isn't this His Highness the Crown Prince? Why are you zoning out here alone? You look bored. Do you want to go for a walk with me? As it turns out, there's something that I would like to ask you, Your Highness. Seeing it was Lucas, Duke Stragov's son, Yuri was a little hesitant. Before Yuri could refuse, Lucas reached out and dragged him away. Their strange behavior was seen by Klouse, who was opposite them. For his son's safety, he decided to follow them outside. After all, that was Duke Stragov's son, so who knew what kind of schemes they were plotting? When he arrived at the garden, he heard Lucas accusing Yuri. Did you know Sir Hate retired? He said he would never take another student in his life. And the blacksmith shop he operates only accepts commissions that are related to repairs. He would never forge a new shield at someone's personal request. So why was it you, of all the people? Does even a hero bow down to power in the end? Seeing that Lucas misunderstood, Yuri wanted to explain, but was roared at to be quiet. Then why would Sir Hate not forge a shield for me? I begged him for such a long time. If you did not exist, that shield and the next throne would all be mine. It would have been better if someone like you was never born. Lucas's voice was not loud, but it was still heard by Klouse, who was hiding nearby in the corner. He was just about to come out and stop this whole farce, but he was frozen in place by his son's very next words. Actually, I used to think that way too, Lucas. You are taller than me, stronger than me, and you are always improving in your studies. I have always been very afraid of being compared to you. But, Lucas, when you were just dragging me right now, your grip was so very strong it kind of hurt me. Lucas was speechless. Are you complaining to me? Yuri shook his head back and forth, frantically. No, not at all. I felt many blisters on your hand, which means you must have practiced a lot. You are really amazing. It was the very first time that Lucas had ever been praised that way. He blushed immediately and could not even speak properly after. Why am I not happy at all when you give me praise? Forget about it. As a member of the royal family, do not just bow your head and apologize. You are such an idiot. When I get permission from my father, I will show you my swordsmanship. After saying that, he walked away without even a backward glance. Watching the retreating figure of Lucas, Yuri stood there and thought for a very long time. It was not until his father appeared that he was finally brought back to his senses. Father, I am so sorry that I snuck outside without your permission. I'm truly sorry. Unlike usual, Klouse did not scold him this time. He just gently patted his son's little head. Let's go back now. The ball is about to start. Yuri nodded obediently. Father, has Mother returned yet? She promised she would be my dance partner and went to change her clothes. I am still waiting for her. Seeing that his father did not know the answer either, Yuri thought about going to find his mother by himself first, but was stopped by Klouse. As the star of today's event, you should stay in the hall. I will go find your mother. Meanwhile, in the dressing room, Dolly was staring into the mirror, frustrated. It is just the buttons on the back. But I cannot reach them myself. What should I do now? Emma has to be busy right now, and I do not have any servants here with me. This is so inconvenient. Suddenly, she thought about the head maid. Maybe she should go and find her. But as soon as she opened up the door, she bumped directly into Klouse. The sudden and close contact made both of them feel awkward, and they both turned their heads away. I'm very sorry. Yuri sent me here. He was worried because you had not returned. Dolly could not hear a word he said, only wanting Klouse to leave quickly. Okay, I will go as soon as I am finished changing. Klouse, waiting outside the door, was not doing much better. His mind was now completely filled with the image of his wife. In order to hide his awkwardness, he slowly walked away from the door. But he had only gone halfway when his wife peeked out the door and called him back. If it's convenient, can you please help me with the buttons on my dress? I don't want to keep Yuri waiting too long. For Klouse, who was a straight man, this was the first time he had ever buttoned up a dress for any woman, so the process was much slower than usual. You do not have any attendants with you? Dolly nodded. Your Majesty is always away on long expeditions and may not be familiar with inner palace matters. Since the time of our marriage, I have always taken care of myself. I don't have dedicated servants. In response to his wife's answer, Klouse could not help but frown. Why? You are the Empress. You should have at least 1 or 2 attendants with you. It seems your Majesty knows nothing. Dolly did not want to explain more on this matter. She just wanted to dance with her precious Yuri as soon as she arrived at the Grand Hall. She saw Yuri running towards her, and as the cheerful music started to play, Yuri experienced his life's first ball. It has always been you, Mother, pushing me forward from behind. But today, let me be the one who leads you. Seeing her son grow up so fast, Dolly was overjoyed as a mother. She still remembered the once very small Yuri, and now, in a blink of an eye, he had become so very mature. What surprised Dolly the most were her son's skillful dance steps. He did not look like someone at a ball for the first time. Yuri, did you start practicing your dancing? Yuri was a little shy, keeping his head down. It was after my last birthday party. I specifically asked Emma to teach me so I could share a dance with you, Mother. I see. Given your outstanding performance at the Imperial Glory Festival, how about we go for a walk in the flower fields tomorrow? As soon as he heard they would go to the flower fields, Yuri was ecstatic, and he nodded his head again and again. The ball went on late into the night. Maybe tired from dancing, Yuri fell asleep the moment his head hit the pillow. Looking at her son's adorable face, Dolly felt her heart melt. Seeing him sleep so very soundly, she decided she would rest early as well. But who could have thought that, as she came out of Yuri's room, she would run right into Klouse, who had a dark expression on his face. Before Dolly could even curtsy, Klouse pulled her in front of him and asked her why she was being treated that way. Dolly was completely confused, not understanding why this man was acting so crazy. She just wanted to get away from this place as soon as possible. Your Majesty, the Imperial Glory Festival has ended. And are you not leaving for an expedition tomorrow? It would be best for you to go back to your room and rest. Hearing her reply, Klause's face grew even darker than before. Do not change the subject. You know what I am asking. In that moment, many bad memories flooded into Dolly's mind. I do not know which specific incident you are asking about. To me, all of these are just a normal part of my daily life. After saying that, she forcefully broke free from the grip of Klouse and prepared to leave. Klouse did not give up. He asked her where the necklace was that he had given her. If those nobles knew that I gave you that necklace, they might have shown some restraint. He wanted to say more, but when he heard his wife had sold the necklace he gave her, he was at a complete loss for words. I apologize for selling your gift without your permission, but I do not belong here. And I am also without money. It was just a necklace. Please forgive me for selling it. Hearing these words, Klouse was heartbroken. However, he controlled his emotions and asked one final question. Do you have any plans for tomorrow? Tomorrow? I have plans to go to the flower fields with Yuri. I see. I am sorry for keeping you for so long. After he said that, he left without looking back. Staring at Klause's departing figure, Dolly looked puzzled, wondering what was wrong with this man today. In order to become closer to his wife, Klouse shamelessly joined the mother and son's flower viewing trip. Although he did not say a word, he would always steal glances at his wife. The strange behavior also made Dolly feel very displeased. Is there something wrong with this man's eyes? Why does he look at other people sideways? Dolly was puzzled. Your Majesty, isn't today the day you leave for your expedition? How do you have the time to come to this garden? Klouse explained to her. The expedition was postponed today, so I just came to have a look. In response to the simple answer from Klouse, Dolly became completely silent. Is this still the same man she once knew? Usually when he had free time, wasn't he always in his study? What is wrong with him today? Before Dolly could think any further, Yuri ran to her from a distance. Mother, I have something I want to give you. He then pulled out a bouquet of flowers from behind his back and gave it to his mother. Dolly's eyes widened with great surprise. Yuri, did you make this? You are so skilled. Yuri blushed after he was praised. Actually, this is only a semi-finished product. Next, I am going to perform some magic for you. Dolly was completely and totally confused. She did not understand. Her son knew magic. How did she not know about it? Then she saw Yuri slowly open up his palm with a wave of his hands. Many petals floated down from the sky, beautifully complementing the bouquet. I hope that Mother can feel warm inside too. As soon as he had said this, Dolly remembered that this was the magic she had taught her son at the Imperial Glory Festival. She stroked her son's little head with a look of pure adoration. Our Yuri's magic is so amazing. I feel so warm inside, right? Now, before they could be happy for very long, they were attracted by Lulu's sound in the distance. It would have been much better not to look. But a single glance left them both stunned and frozen right in place. Lulu wagged his tail and placed a flower bouquet he carried in his mouth before the Emperor. His tail-wagging position clearly asked if Klouse liked the gift. The mother and son thought it was all over. Given Klause's personality, wouldn't he cruelly shoo the dog away from him? But, surprisingly, Klouse uncharacteristically picked the flowers up from the ground to prevent the situation from getting worse, while his father was busy picking up the flowers. Yuri quickly took Lulu and then fled the area. This left Klouse, who had just gathered the flowers, looking totally confused. He looked at the flowers in his hand and finally had to ask Dolly about the magic she mentioned earlier. That was a metaphor. I only wanted to tell Yuri that actions that can quickly warm people's hearts are like magic. I hoped the metaphor might make Yuri feel a bit happier. After hearing this, Klouse quietly put the flowers into his pocket. The sky was especially beautiful today. Dolly hadn't seen such a wide sky in ages, and it felt like the first time their family was out together since the locked door was opened. Many things had changed. In this life, could she stop Yuri from ever looking so sad again? Dolly thought about this for a long time. She was interrupted by the voice of Duke Stragoff. Take this. Looking at the diamond ring inside the box, Dolly was amazed. The ring featured an angel's ruby. It was known as a rare gem that was only found in the deepest northern mines. Only members of the royal family were given the right to mine it. Dolly found it difficult to believe, not knowing why Klouse gave her such a valuable gem. Seeing Dolly hesitate to accept the box, Klouse assumed she did not like it. I ordered this to be brought from the north yesterday evening. As long as they are not total fools, any noble seeing this gem will surely recognize your position, he explained, pushing the ring box toward her again. Realizing Klouse was doing it for her, Dolly felt a bit touched. If that is the case, then I cannot accept this gift. It is far too valuable, and I am not worthy. But Klouse replied, You are the Empress. Dolly could not stop herself from blushing. She thought this clueless man did not understand at all. She stopped refusing and accepted the gift gracefully. Aren't you worried that I will sell it? This ring too? You can do what you want with it. Just as Klouse finished speaking, a subordinate came running over in a great hurry. He shouted, Your Majesty, a matter requires your confirmation. At this, Klouse could only stand up with reluctance. He left the area with a blank expression on his face. Not long after Klouse left, Dolly took out the diamond ring to examine it carefully for a moment. In her past life, she had stubbornly kept the one necklace that she owned. Ultimately, the outcome was truly ironic. But then, she wondered, should she actually sell this diamond ring? After she thought for a moment, she decided against the idea. I will wait and see. Maybe that man will ask for it back later. So she called Emma and requested that she put it away in her room for now. But after she had finished giving her instructions, she looked up to see that Yuri, who had been nearby, was now gone. She recalled her son being right there only a moment before. How could he vanish in the blink of an eye? Meanwhile, Yuri was on the other side, looking for some flowers. He finally located a bouquet of bright red roses on the river's other bank. He wanted to give them to his father. He thought his father would certainly like it. Before he left, he remembered to check his reflection in the water. But just as he started to get up, he lost his footing and fell backward. This very dangerous moment was seen by Dolly, who was looking for Yuri. In an instant, she grabbed her son's arm. The situation was critical. By the time she pushed her son safely onto the bank, she had fallen into the river herself. Dolly struggled frantically in the cold water. However, the clothes she wore made swimming extremely difficult for her. Her mind grew dim, her body felt heavier. Dolly despaired. Was she going to die here? Just as she thought it was over, she could faintly hear her son, Yuri, calling out to her. When she opened her eyes once more, she had gone back to her past life. Staring at the adult version of Yuri, Dolly felt a little dazed. She was unable to believe she was truly back, or if all that happened before was only a dream. Just as Dolly was thinking about this, the father and son had already started their duel. Amid the clashing of swords, Yuri was clearly having trouble as Klause's power grew. Yuri made an error and finally showed an opening. Just as Klouse had raised his sword high, ready to land the fatal strike on Yuri, his movement froze in place. In that instant, Yuri took the chance and thrust his sword into Klause's chest. Father, you really could not bring yourself to do it. This scene was very familiar to Dolly, but they were past memories. Why was she seeing them happen all over again? Suddenly, Dolly appeared to think of something important. When Yuri had attacked earlier, it looked like there was a black shadow on his sword. Before Dolly had a chance to look around, her body started to become transparent. How could this happen? Then, she saw Klouse struggling in her peripheral vision, in pain on the ground, and it looked like he was calling her name. Before Dolly could clearly hear what he was trying to say, she was pulled back into reality. Seeing that his mother was now awake, Yuri was the first one to rush over and hug her. Mother, you have finally woken up. I am so sorry. It is all my fault. Seeing her son crying with such heartbreak, Dolly's own heart ached. The next moment, she carefully wiped the tears from his eyes. Yuri, I am fine. Look, I am awake now. Klouse, standing nearby, was still very worried. He asked the butler to send for a doctor. After giving the order, he looked up and met Dolly's curious stare. Perhaps he did not want Dolly to see his worried expression. Klouse casually turned away his head. Empress, how are you feeling now? Hearing this title, Dolly felt a bit dazed, both in her past life and this one. Klouse never used her actual name, and he always called her Empress. Then why did he call me Dolly inside that memory? And she felt as if she was missing something. Was it that she was too focused on the present? At that time, just before Yuri made his attack, the reflection that was on his sword showed a person. Based on the person's figure, that person looked like the adult Lucas. The more Dolly thought about it, the more scared she was. Her body began to tremble without her control. In the past life, Lucas had always thought the throne belonged to him. He had a hostile political rivalry with Yuri. But why was he with Yuri? While Dolly was lost in her own anxious thoughts, a hand suddenly took hold of her wrist. "Mother, are you feeling all right?" Dolly waved her hand in a panic, showing that she felt fine and was recovered. Seeing that Dolly was truly okay, Klouse did not stay there any longer. After saying a simple goodbye, he was ready to leave on his expedition. In the following days, Dolly learned from her son Yuri that Klouse had passed by the garden while on his way to the expedition. That is how he saved her just in time. Hearing this, Dolly was very touched, and her opinion of Klouse improved. Meanwhile, inside a luxurious mansion, Duke Stragoff stared fiercely at his son. "Say what you just told me again, if you have the courage." Lucas was startled by his father, but he prepared himself and repeated what he said to him before. "Please let me go watch His Highness, the Crown Prince's, sword practice. I only want to laugh at his awful skills." Duke Stragoff was not fooled by his son's awkward lie. He knew exactly what Lucas was really thinking about. He just wants to become friends with that useless crown prince, right? But that is not necessarily a bad thing. "Fine. I will allow it. Now you must go and get ready very quickly." Facing his father's strange and unusual attitude, Lucas did not dare to wait. He was afraid his father might regret it. Not long after Lucas had left, Duke Stragoff could not contain his excitement anymore. He burst out laughing like a complete madman. "I am a genius for creating this brilliant plan. I'll let Lucas build a good friendship with the prince and then ruin it. By that time, the useless prince will certainly fall into an abyss of self-destruction. And after that, I will have my son take the throne. Klouse, just you wait and see. I will show you exactly how I'll crush you under my own heel." Meanwhile, Lucas was clearly not aware of his father's evil scheme. He skipped to the royal palace and found the prince's room. He ignored the servant's attempts to stop him and went inside. "Pardon my intrusion, you weak little crown prince." Seeing that it was Lucas who entered, Yuri was a little stunned for a moment. "Lucas, what are you doing here so suddenly?" "It's just as I thought. You do not remember anything. Did I not tell you this before? I was going to teach you how to use a sword." But he was only halfway through his sentence when he saw Her Majesty, the Empress, resting on the bed. The next moment, Lucas grabbed a servant nearby and fled from the room. "Hey, Her Majesty, the Empress is in Prince Yuri's room. Why did you not tell me this before?" The servant felt very wronged. "I did tell you. But you were not listening to what I said at the time." Realizing it was his fault, Lucas did not give the servant any more trouble. He then turned to give a deep bow to the Empress. "Your Majesty, the Empress, I am so sorry. I did not mean to disturb your rest. I apologize." Looking at the polite boy in front of her, Dolly felt a little bit confused. In her own memory, Lucas's attitude was the complete opposite of this one. So why did he search for Yuri at this specific time? Hasn't Lucas always viewed Yuri as his rival? Before Dolly could think more, Yuri interrupted her thoughts. "Mother, Lucas and I first met during the festivals of Imperial Glory. He came here to talk about swordsmanship with me today. So, Mother, can I practice swordsmanship with him?" Faced with her son's cute request, Dolly could not resist and agreed. However, she added one extra condition. The practice had to take place while she was there. Although she thought that Lucas was not a big problem, he was still the Duke's son. With the dream she had, she needed to keep a very close eye on him. In the sword practice area, the two young boys fought with all of their might. In the beginning, they were evenly matched in skill, but a little later on, Yuri slipped and he fell to the ground. The sight startled Dolly, and just as she was about to help Yuri, she saw Lucas had reached him. "Are you hurt? You are very clumsy," he said, as he reached out a hand to pull Yuri up. Seeing that Lucas did not harm Yuri, Dolly breathed a sigh of relief. Then she understood she had been overly nervous. She focused too much on his family and his past events, but she never tried to understand Lucas as a person by acting this way. Wasn't she acting just like those nobles who only care about family lines? At this thought, Dolly shyly lowered her head. She did not want to repeat past mistakes, so she needed to pay attention and act. Just then, Emma came to the practice arena with fresh tea. "Your Majesty, I heard His Highness the Crown Prince can join the Holy Sword Tournament." Dolly froze when she heard about the Holy Sword Tournament. How could she possibly have forgotten about this? The Iranian Empire was so famous because of its unmatched reserves of power. Therefore, to keep this strength, the empire often held festivals to show its power to the goddess of victory. If Lucas participated in the Holy Sword tournament, then the Duke would surely be attending the event as well. To protect the children, she had to always watch their actions. But the idea that the festival champion must dedicate the victory to the closest woman in his life gave Dali a headache. In her previous life, Klouse had also participated in this. Not surprisingly, he won the championship. Just when everyone assumed His Majesty would dedicate his victory to the Empress, who would have guessed he would dedicate the victory to the nation instead? This particular incident had always been a sharp pain in Dali's heart. Although she did not care about these things, now, the thought of hearing those same words again was still a little painful. If Klouse knew she was speaking badly of him, he would certainly be extremely angry. Meanwhile, on the expedition's battlefield, Klouse had already gathered his entire army so that he could see his wife, Dali, sooner. He commanded his subordinates to finish the battle fast. Indeed, a week after he departed, the troops returned to the city victorious ahead of schedule. However, because of his very busy schedule, he had not had a chance to see Dali yet. How? Is the Empress's condition? The doctor said she needs more rest. Her Majesty's appetite has not yet returned. However, something truly incredible happened. During Prince Yuri's preparations for the Holy Sword tournament, Her Majesty the Empress has been with him the whole time. Perhaps this is really what people call a mother's love. After hearing this, Klouse put down his pen. He immediately stood up to go and find his wife, Dali. John looked at the huge mountain of documents on the desk, and he could not help but frown. Then, Your Majesty, what about all of these documents here? I am sure you are very capable of handling this work. In response to Klause's praise, John appeared to have been injected with adrenaline. He gave an okay sign, saying, "Don't worry, leave it to me." Elsewhere, Klouse found Dali at the practice arena. Dali was flattered and wondered what this man wanted. As she was thinking, her eyes noticed the delicious food on the table. Dali could not resist trying a bite, and the taste was truly exceptional. Very good. Could it be possible that His Majesty had this prepared just for her? Seeing Dali enjoy the food, Klause's cold expression softened just a little. Is your practice session going well? Very well. He is training hard for the upcoming Holy Sword tournament. Your Majesty, you will be participating too, right? I will be cheering for you. Klouse did not answer her. He just kept staring at her. Actually, you do not have to participate in the Holy Sword tournament. As soon as he said this, Dali's expression became quite ugly. She did not understand what kind of fit this man was having now. Why would you say such a thing? Because only a few days ago, you were unconscious in your bed. That is not a problem. Thanks to Your Majesty's help, my body has recovered quite well. Do not think that saying this would change Klause's mind. But who would have thought that he would simply keep shaking his head? Your Majesty, without a suitable reason, I am afraid I cannot obey you. Seeing that he was unable to persuade Dali, Klause's expression became even more gloomy. Do you know that on the day you fell in the water? No, had I. When I pulled you to the shore, you had already stopped breathing. There were no signs of life. How could you possibly recover so quickly after experiencing something like that? Realizing that she had misunderstood Klouse completely, Dali was filled with guilt. I'm so sorry for causing you so much trouble. Does Yuri know about this? Seeing Klouse shake his head in response, Dali finally breathed out a sigh of relief. I don't want to see Yuri sad because of me anymore. Thank you very much. But I still hope Your Majesty allows me to attend the Holy Sword tournament. Before the competition starts, I will take good care of my health as the doctor ordered. So I am begging you. Klouse had never encountered such a stubborn person before. Does she truly not care about her own body whatsoever? Since he was unable to persuade Dali, Klouse could only agree with reluctance. However, you must agree to my condition. If I win the Holy Sword tournament, then you must spend the day with me. Dali frowned, confused, not knowing what kind of scheme he was plotting now. Because it seems I do not know anything. Klouse answered her. Dali was completely amazed. She never thought he would remember what she said at the Festivals of Imperial Glory. Since the Holy Sword tournament was the biggest event in the entire empire, the whole city's population came out for it. They all came for the chance to see the Emperor's heroic bearing with their own eyes. The Holy Sword tournament was split into two separate events, swordsmanship and equestrianism. Klouse took part in the equestrian event, while Yuri took part in the swordsmanship event. The first round featured Captain John against His Majesty Klouse. The crowd's excitement was very obvious. They cheered wildly for the competitor they were supporting. Everyone thought the match between Captain John and Klouse would be amazing, but who could have guessed that John would lose the match without lasting a single round? I am done for. How can I possibly face my adorable nephew now? In the matches that followed, Klouse, with his unmatched skill, advanced smoothly to the finals. Maybe because His Majesty's fights were so thrilling, most of the people in the audience had shouted until they were hoarse. Among the crowd, there was one special person, Dolly. From the previous matches, she could already guess the final outcome of this last one. But thinking about their arrangement after his victory, her heart was troubled. Before she could sort out her thoughts, the announcer started the pre-match introductions. This match is between Captain Duelist of Count Raymond's Knights and His Majesty Klouse. Upon hearing this name, Dolly was stunned. She recalled that name was not on the earlier match list. What was happening right now? Suddenly, Dolly seemed to understand something. Could he be one of Duke Stragoff's men? Sure enough, before the match started, the man was staring intensely at Duke Stragoff. Before Dolly could think any more about it, the match began. At the start, their skills seemed evenly matched, but as Klouse increased his force, his opponent's sword was snapped. Just as everyone thought Duelist would surrender, who would have thought the man would act like a madman, catching him off guard and grabbing Klause's reins. In an instant, the horse went out of control. No matter how much the referee tried to stop the match, Duelist had no intention of stopping. Set on killing Klouse, Klouse quickly planted his feet, swung his sword, and stopped Duelist's scheme. The referee then announced His Majesty Klouse as the winner. The stadium was drowned in applause. The thrilling scene had frightened the mother and son on the platform, leaving them stunned for a while. Amid the crowd's cheering, the announcer asked the same question as in her past life. Your Majesty, to whom will you dedicate this victory? At these words, Dolly on the platform became lost in her thoughts. What is meant to happen will happen. It does not matter to me anymore. Just say whatever it is you want. Just as Dolly prepared herself for the strange looks from the crowd, she was very surprised to find that this time, Klouse dedicated the victory to her. At first, Dolly thought that she had misheard him, but when everyone in the stadium turned around to look at her, Dolly was totally stunned. Though she didn't know what possessed Klouse, she could see herself reflected in his gaze. If, in my last life, you had not told me my mission was finished, and had not torn Yuri from me, would I have been happier? Before Dolly could think more, it was time for her son Yuri's match. Mother, this time it is my turn to dedicate my victory to you. I will make you the goddess of victory. Hearing her son's determined promise, Dolly was extremely happy. Before he left, she reminded him, be careful in your match. It does not matter if you win, you must protect yourself. Yuri nodded in obedience. Just then, Klouse, who had just finished his own match, came up to them. As soon as she saw him, Dolly thanked him for what had just happened. Your Majesty, my sincere congratulations on your victory. Your equestrian match was truly magnificent. Although Dolly said many things, Klouse remained as cold as he always was. He said, I had a reason I could not lose, and turned his head away. Dolly understood his meaning. You couldn't lose because you had to show your dignity as emperor, right? At Dolly's interpretation of his words, Klouse could not help but roll his eyes at her. He was doing it to keep the promise he made in the garden. When did he ever think about all of that? Before the two of them could say anything more, it was time for Yuri's first swordsmanship match. Like Klouse, Yuri's matches also went by very smoothly, and he quickly reached the finals. His final opponent was his old friend, Lucas. Seeing this, Dolly could not help but clench her fists. She remembered that in her past life, Yuri lost to Lucas. At that time, because she was busy with her own problems, she was not by his side to share his disappointment, not offering even one word of encouragement. This had made her feel extremely guilty. In this life, she would not let that happen again. So Dolly stood up, completely ignoring the strange looks from the crowd, and she shouted words of encouragement to her son, who was in the arena. Perhaps because he was feeling his mother's concern, Yuri fought even harder in the following match. He launched a fierce attack against Lucas. Their match was intense. Near the end, Lucas felt that he was struggling to keep up. Luckily for him, he was a year older than Yuri. With his last bit of strength, he knocked Yuri's sword away. With that, the match was over. Lucas won But when the referee asked Lucas who would receive his victory's dedication, Lucas immediately looked toward his father, who was on the high platform. But his father's cold and dark stare made Lucas so scared he could not say a single word. Meanwhile, Dali had already been thinking about how she would encourage Yuri, but after she waited for a long time, there was still no sign of her son. This made Dali feel a bit uneasy, so she decided that she would go look for him. Finally, in a corner of the resting area, she found a very pitiful-looking Yuri. Seeing his mother arrive, Yuri quickly wiped his tears and forced himself to smile. "I'm sorry, Mother. I lost the match." Before he could finish his sentence, Dali pulled him into a warm hug. "Yuri, you worked very hard. You were so brave during your match." Yuri looked completely confused. He did not understand why his mother praised him, when he had obviously lost. Before Yuri could understand it, Dali noticed the fresh blood stain on his knee. "Yuri, you are hurt," reminded by his mother. Yuri finally noticed the injury. It seemed he scraped it during the match. He was about to say it was nothing, but the next moment, Dali swept him up and rushed to the infirmary. "Mother, this small scratch is nothing, and blood will get all over your clothes." Dali said softly, "It's okay, Yuri. Do not worry about it." Perhaps feeling his mother's great concern for him, Yuri's heart filled with warmth and guilt. Finally, he burst out, "Mother, please put me down. I can walk by myself." Dali was stunned. It was the first time she saw her son act this way. "Yuri, you tried so hard, but all I could do was sit and cheer. So please, let me carry you there right now, okay?" Dali coaxed him in a soft voice. Her eyes filled with worry. Looking at his mother, Yuri also felt quite terrible. "Mother, am I causing trouble for you like this?" "Not at all, but I still lost the match." "So what? I am still very proud of you, and I am grateful that you let me see such an exciting match." His mother's words deeply moved Yuri's heart. He realized that he had misunderstood his mother. Dali was very fast, and in no time at all, she ran to the infirmary. The doctor saw the wound was not serious, and just bandaged it for Yuri. "Yuri, the Holy Sword tournament has ended. Let us go and get changed now." "But Mother, I have to go practice swordsmanship later, so I probably should not change." Hearing her son's words, Dali could not help but sigh to herself. "I was thinking that we could go to the festival after we get changed." Hearing the word, "festival?" Yuri's eyes lit up, and he quickly changed his tune. "Mother, I suddenly don't feel like practicing swordsmanship. I want to go to the festival." Seeing her son's very adorable expression, Dali's heart completely melted. "That is wonderful. Let's go there together. I was a little afraid to go there alone anyway. But Mother, I have one other request. Can I ask Lucas to come along? It would be more fun with more people. I have not congratulated him on winning yet." Yuri looked at his mother with an expectant expression. Dali agreed without a second thought. "Then let's go and find Lucas together." Meanwhile, just outside the tournament grounds, Klouse was staring grimly at a strange flower in his hand. "Your Majesty, this poisonous plant was discovered here after the tournament." "It is not a poisonous plant that grows nearby. It was certainly brought here by an outsider. It looks like they had no time to use it. Could someone be planning to assassinate you, Your Majesty?" As for John's speculation, Klouse immediately shook his head and dismissed it. He recognized this very poisonous flower. It paralyzes a victim's body for a few days but is not fatal. So why would someone bring this poisonous flower? This poisonous flower was brought by men sent by Duke Stragoff. He wanted his son to drink it while alone with the Crown Prince. The earlier plan to assassinate Klouse had actually failed, so it seems that we can only rely on you now. Making you become friends with the Crown Prince was truly the correct move. If you suddenly appear to be on the brink of death, rumors will certainly spread like wildfire. Everyone will start to speculate that the foolish Crown Prince, after losing to the Duke's eldest son in the Holy Sword tournament, became jealous, and then plotted an assassination. Hearing his father's truly vicious plan, Lucas began to tremble with fear. He never thought his father would do this for the future of the House of Stragoff. Before leaving, Duke Stragoff even gave his son some false encouragement. "Do not worry, Lucas. This poison will not kill you. I have very high hopes for you." Lucas stared down at the poison in his hand. His body was still trembling without his control. Just as he was struggling about what to do, Yuri suddenly came to find him. But Yuri could not know he was the last person Lucas wanted to see. His father had just given him the task to frame the prince using poison. He only wanted to stay away from Yuri now. But who would have thought Yuri would invite him to the festival and also ask for his help. This was it. Lucas frowned, feeling confused, not understanding the point of this at all. Actually, I really want to test my mother. I want to see if she will be disappointed in me if I do not become a great crown prince. After he spoke, he looked at Lucas with expectation. Please, you are the only one who can help me with this plan. Perhaps not wanting to see his good friend looking so sad, Lucas gritted his teeth and agreed. In a place where Yuri could not see, he threw the poison into the bushes behind him. He thought he would tell his father the poison was almost found, so he got rid of it. With an excuse, Lucas sighed in relief. The two young boys launched their operation plan together. They even met Emperor Klouse along the way, but that did not affect their plan. Soon, Yuri started his first mission. He first ran to his mother and said in a childlike voice that he wanted to eat the candy. Adelaide, of course, would not refuse her son's request, but when she asked which one he wanted, Yuri completely froze. Luckily, Lucas saved the situation. Why don't you buy all of them? Taking the hint, Yuri copied him, saying he wanted them all. Soon, many different kinds of candies were in Yuri's hands, but he did not forget to share with his friend. Seeing the first mission was completed so smoothly, the two young boys were full of energy. They launched the second part of their plan, suddenly breaking into a run. But they had not taken more than 2 steps when the sharp-eyed Klouse spotted them. The plan was declared a failure. The third plan was to not use any honorifics. Hey, you guys, come here! Look, these horses are very cute! Wow, they really are so cute. But before Yuri could even finish his sentence, he received an eye roll from Lucas. Who can hear you with that small sound? Happy times are always short. By the time they finished at the festival, it was evening. A shopkeeper asked if they had fun. Yuri was still a little timid. This experience was most pleasant for me, he said, thanks to Lucas's encouragement. Yuri finally spoke his mind loudly. I had a lot of fun today. Regarding Yuri's performance, Lucas reluctantly wrote pass on his sheet. It seems mother does not mind me doing these things at all. She is your mother after all. Parents certainly want to see their own children happy. Hearing this explanation, Yuri was still skeptical. Even if their child fails? Those words seemed to sting Lucas's heart, and he could not help but sigh. Who knows? Look, Her Majesty the Empress is very happy. Doesn't that say it all? Adelaide saw the two of them looking at her and asked them with a smile if something was wrong. To completely remove Yuri's worries, Lucas lied and said he wanted to see the puppet show. But it is getting very late. Should we not head back? The moment he finished speaking, Adelaide clapped her hands, saying she wanted to see it too. And so the entire group went to watch the puppet show. At this moment, Yuri was finally and completely convinced that no matter what, his mother would never dislike him. When the show ended, Lucas complained about the cliché plot. Don't you think the brother is a burden? Wouldn't it be easier to fight the dragon all alone? Just then, John, who stood behind them, offered a different idea. What if you swapped the brother character for a sister? That would be adorable, right? As he listened to their conversation, Yuri's eyes suddenly lit up. He thought of his fourth operation plan. Mother, can you please give me a brother or sister? Faced with her son's desire for a sibling, Adelaide did not know how to answer. She thought maybe she should find a chance to ask Klouse later if they could add a new member to their family. Yuri saw his mother was distracted and felt a little disappointed, as he was thinking his request was too much to ask. Luckily, Klouse decided to speak up at that moment. Yuri, you see that couple of people? Over there, right? Between a man and a woman like them? Seeing Klouse was about to say something very inappropriate, everyone mentally screamed, no! Inside their own minds. Adelaide lunged forward to cover Yuri's ears. John desperately tried to persuade Klouse not to talk about those things. Prince Yuri is still much too young to hear this. But Klouse looked completely unconcerned by this. He said that when he was Yuri's age, he had already begun to learn about these things. Seeing that he could not persuade His Majesty, John had to try and coax Yuri instead. Prince Yuri, what His Majesty said was too complicated. Let me try to simplify it for you. As long as a man and a woman are very close, they can have a baby just by holding hands. Hearing that having a baby was that simple, Yuri's eyes lit up with excitement. He quickly ran over and placed his parents' hands together, hoping for a little sister so he would not be lonely. By the time the group came out of the theater, it was already late at night. Before they parted ways, Yuri did not forget to thank Lucas. Lucas, you are really amazing. If it was just me, I could not have completed these missions. Lucas smiled and just waved his hand. It was nothing at all. You are my very best friend, after all. But I recall there is one thing on your plan you haven't done. Are you not going to ask? Yuri hesitated for a moment, and then he decided to wait until the next time. Though he believed his mother would answer his questions and forgive his actions, he was still scared about this one thing. He then gave his friend Lucas a reassuring look. The next time we meet, I will certainly tell you what my mother says. Lucas looked at Yuri's confident face, the corners of his mouth turning up a little. He made a promise with him. Their close interaction was seen by Dolly from a distance. She was thinking what Yuri said. If their family had another little angel as cute as Yuri, she could not imagine how happy she would feel. However, this wish would be very difficult to fulfill. It required His Majesty's approval. But just as she was worrying about how to discuss it with His Majesty, Klouse had already appeared in front of her. He informed her it was time to pack up and leave. The moment she saw him, Dolly suddenly recalled something. Your Majesty, about our promise from the tournament, can you give me a little more time? Klouse was a little puzzled, not knowing why she suddenly brought this topic up. Is this the reason you invited me to the festival today? Dolly nodded her head lightly. The reason she invited Klouse to the festival today was because she had seen what Lucas threw away earlier. At first, she had thought Lucas was trying to harm Yuri, but she soon realized that she had been mistaken. From this, she figured out the bottle he threw away was given to him by the Duke for a purpose. Just in case, she invited His Majesty to attend the festival with them. The most important thing to do now is to investigate what was inside that bottle. Klouse did not refuse Dolly's request, only asking that on the agreed day, she would be completely his. Dolly was a bit shocked. Were those the words of that cold ruler? Before they could say more, Yuri came skipping over to them. Afterwards, the group returned back home. Early the next morning, Dolly packed her things and went to the slums. According to the apothecary's analysis from last night, the bottle had a poison called Betrayal. The user becomes paralyzed, entering a state that looks like death. Combined with the earlier incident of the knight who tried to cut the Emperor's horse reins, Dolly had already mostly figured out the Duke's entire conspiracy. Slowly, her expression became very firm. Since you want to harm my son, I will not let you get away with it. With help from his good friend, Yuri finally solved his internal conflict. He believed that his mother would always love him, but he did not know that Lucas, in an effort to protect their friendship, had abandoned the task his father assigned and was being punished at home. Son, do you think I do not know what you are thinking? Why did you get close to the prince? I assume it was not just to be best friends. Facing his father's cold voice, Lucas did not dare to look up at him. He merely lowered his head and explained repeatedly, Father, I hope that any contest between me and the prince will be a fair one. As soon as these words were said, Duke Strogoff's expression became even more sinister. Lucas, do you know what you are saying? To find an excuse for your own cowardice? If you cannot take the throne, then what is the meaning of your existence in our family? Go back to solitary confinement. You will not see the light of day without my permission. Just like that, Lucas was confined by his father. Meanwhile, in the slums on the other side, Dolly was secretly looking for something. Suddenly, a sharp cry broke her thoughts. So noisy. Hurry and throw that thing away and come home with me to work. What is the point of carrying around a useless thing all day long? This particular scene happened to remind Dolly of her own childhood. It reminded her of the rag doll that was cut to pieces by someone. The despair and helplessness she felt, she still remembered it. Perhaps not wanting the little girl's childhood to have regrets, Dolly called out to the mother and her daughter, Excuse me, you do not need this anymore? Actually, I also have a 6-year-old child. Maybe I can help. The girl's mother, seeing herself interrupted, looked a little impatient. Seeing the gorgeous clothes on Dolly, the woman's face became even uglier. As expected of a wealthy family, to be idle enough to meddle in other people's affairs. You must be a truly excellent mother. These words felt like a sharp sword that pierced into Dolly's heart. In the past, she had locked herself in her room, not wanting to take a single step outside. She was a weak and incompetent mother, and now she lived by relying on Yuri's kindness and others' goodwill. If she became isolated and totally helpless, could she still change the future outcome? Although she did not know what the final result was going to be, Dolly knew in her heart that she could not just sit and wait for disaster. After she figured all of this out, Dolly, without another word, pushed the doll into the woman's hands and told her not to throw the doll away or else she would regret it. This strange action left the woman a little bit stunned. Luckily, the child decided to speak up. "Mom, I'm sorry. I was being too willful," she said, crying. So, sadly, the woman finally realized her own mistake, and she hurried forward to comfort her child. "I am sorry. It was all Mommy's fault. Mommy should not have been so selfish." Seeing the problem was resolved, Dolly's mood improved a great deal. For some reason, she was starting to miss Yuri a little, even though they were only apart for a short time. At that same time, Klouse also came to the slums with his subordinates. He had not expected that in such a short time, the slums would have become so empty. No doubt, it was Duke Stragoff's doing again. He ordered his subordinates to add more inspection tours to their schedule. He was determined not to let Duke Stragoff interfere in the slums economy anymore. This time, he would show no weakness at all. Perhaps Klouse was too lost in his thought. John beside him mistakenly thought he was thinking about the Empress, Dolly. "Your Majesty, you must prioritize your work. The Empress is surely at the castle, with Prince Yuri now." As a result, the words had just left his mouth when reality slapped John hard across his face. Dolly had appeared before them at some point, likely because John was making too much noise. Dolly saw them too. In the time that followed, Dolly told Klouse all that she had discovered. "You are saying the Duke's son had poison?" "Yes, Your Majesty. The poisonous herb you found was also talus, wasn't it? And this poisonous herb only grows in the Earl's territory, which means Duke Stragoff and the Earl have joined forces." Hearing Dolly's analysis of the situation, Klouse could not help but sigh. He actually knew all about this already, but the main problem now was the lack of clear evidence to convict the Earl and his allies. Just as Klouse felt at a complete loss, Dolly suddenly stepped forward, saying she had a good way to make them reveal their own flaw. "First, I need John to pretend to be a merchant and visit the Earl's residence. Then find a way to sell this very bottle to the Earl himself. I have already sprinkled talus pollen on this bottle. Just a small amount is enough to cause a rash on one's hands. When we show the poison to him, the Earl will get nervous and expose himself." John raised both hands to approve this plan. "Your Majesty, you are truly brilliant. Then, I will hold on to this bottle for now. And tomorrow I will—" Before he could even finish, John's hand started to react to the substance. Toward this clumsy man, Klouse was already very used to it. The next moment, he skillfully applied the antidote for him. By the time Klouse finished dealing with everything, it was late in the night. He had just opened the door and ran into Dolly, who was waiting just outside. "How is John doing now?" Klouse waved his hand to reassure her. "He only touched a little. He will be fine by tomorrow." At this, Dolly finally breathed a sigh of relief. After all, John had been injured because of her plan. "Right, Your Majesty, I remember John's birthday is coming up very soon. I plan to give him a notebook and pen as a gift so he can write down important things. Then it would be best for him to write down the matter of being a good subordinate." Dolly was amused. "Since Your Majesty said so, why not send him on a retreat with hate?" Klouse agreed with this idea. A retreat for 10 or even 8 years would be for the best. Let him also taste the kind of suffering of my own childhood. The two of them chatted happily that night. The next day's plan proceeded very smoothly. The Earl, as expected, could not handle the pressure and confessed everything about his dealings with Duke Stragoff. "Your Majesty, the accident at the Holy Sword tournament was not my plan. It was all the Duke's idea. I only provided him with the poisonous flower. I did not do anything else." "Do you have any proof?" Under the pressure of Klause's powerful aura, the Earl handed over the Duke's handwritten orders without a second thought. Now, Klouse finally had the proof of Duke Stragoff's crimes. His mood improved a lot. But as he left the Earl's house, Klouse noticed something was wrong. "John, do you remember how many guards there were when we arrived?" "I think there were 3. At these words, Klause's expression changed. He ordered his men to prepare a carriage to chase that person. That person was most likely the Duke's spy. Meanwhile, Dolly, who was reminiscing with some villagers, received a strange letter from Duke Stragoff. Frantic, she ran all the way to deliver the letter to His Majesty. But after Klouse had finished reading the letter, he was completely distraught. Yuri had been targeted by the Duke. A few hours earlier, Stragoff learned that the Emperor and Empress were in Count Raymond's territory. The evidence is held by Raymond, but this is an opportunity. We will use forceful means to capture the prince. However, all of this conversation was overheard by Lucas. He then wrote a letter to inform the emperor and the empress. Dolly was terrified after she saw the letter, and declared she would go to the Duke whether the letter was real or fake. The next place Yuri would most likely appear was the Duke's own mansion. Before leaving, Klouse whispered instructions to, quote, protect Her Majesty the Empress at all costs. He then got on his horse and left all alone. The rest of the squad followed the Empress directly to the Duke's mansion. Her worries were not important. She had to pull herself together right now. Please, Yuri, you have to be safe. At this time, Yuri was still in the mansion, unaware of the danger. He was still discussing the operation plan with Lulu. Suddenly, the door was thrown open and a hand shot out toward Yuri. We have to escape, little prince. With that, the two of them went past the guards and ran outside. Once outside, Lucas anxiously explained the situation. My father is sending his people to capture you. But I have my crest. We can get into the city. I have already written the letter, and I do not want to live by someone else's plans anymore. The two arrived at the meeting point, mounted their horses, and galloped toward a place they could hide. After the three of them had arrived, Lucas introduced Yuri to his mentor, whose name was Matthew. He often received help from Her Majesty the Empress. Yuri is the Empress's beloved son. He would not allow anyone to harm Yuri. Suddenly, there was a commotion. Someone shouted from the outside. We have found them! Inform the Duke immediately! Meanwhile, Klouse was still searching for Yuri, but the rain was pouring down. All clues were washed away by the water. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, his mind racing as if he realized something. In an instant, blades were drawn, flashing like lightning. In a flash, Klouse fought his way out of the encirclement. He then turned his head to glare, which frightened Matthew into trembling. At that exact moment, Yuri pulled the door open just a crack and stared at Klause's back, speechless. Klouse walked forward and pulled Yuri into his arms. Father, with tears, gently comforts his crying son Yuri in the pouring rain. In the middle of the rain, Father and Yuri stand sadly with others. Father looks down at little Yuri with concern, while Yuri sees up with mixed emotions. Little Yuri stood still, his face with tears and a look of deep sorrow. With a heavy heart, Yuri quietly wishes, I also want to meet my mother. Father sincerely thanks another young man, acknowledging that, if it weren't for your letter, the situation would have worsened. The young man sadly replies no, and says he is sorry he couldn't stop his father, feeling regret. With tearful determination, the young man declares he will wait at the castle for his father to arrive, no matter what punishment awaits the Duke's family. Father, with a thoughtful expression, considers the situation and simply says he will think about it. As the young man boards a carriage, Yuri sits forlornly inside, watching Father walk away. Desperate, Yuri tries to open the carriage door, crying out he is sorry and asking to stop the carriage. The carriage rolls away into the distance, leaving Father standing silently in the rain. Suddenly, little Yuri leaps from the moving carriage and runs back through the mud, calling out Father and asking him to please wait. Still crying and running, Yuri struggles to hold out something, pleading for his father to please give this. With a heartbreaking cry, Yuri holds up a piece of cloth, asking his father to give it to Mother. Father's stern expression softens as he looks at his tearful son standing in the rain. He gently reaches out to take the precious cloth from Yuri. Meanwhile, back at the Duke's residence, a frustrated man with pink hair draws his sword, while a white-haired woman looks on. Mother cries out in panic, urgently asking where Yuri is. Her hand clutches her heart, a delicate blue brooch pinned to her dress, as she feels a surge of anxiety. Her blue eyes harden with fierce determination, ready to face whatever comes. The man with an evil grin proclaims no matter what she tries to do. As a shadowy vision of a king and child being crowned appears, Mother, firm and resolved, replies simply yes. Her gaze is sharp and focused, revealing her unwavering resolve. A man in a purple suit watches the woman and the pink-haired man from a distance, an observer of the unfolding drama. She stands alone, looking worried and waiting for news. She turns to Johann, asking with concern if he heard anything about him. Johann hesitates, then thoughtfully replies then. Growing increasingly anxious, the woman expresses her worry that it is odd they haven't received any news by now. Johann suggests they hurry back to the castle, believing that at this point, His Majesty and Yuri may have met up. The king, radiating a powerful aura, rides confidently on his horse. The woman, shocked, confronts the king, asking Her Majesty, saying he was supposed to go look for Yuri, and asking why he is here. As the king rides past, the woman looks utterly distraught, her world seemingly shattering around her. A cherished memory, or picture, shows the woman smiling brightly alongside a happy, younger Yuri. The king father returns to the woman, gently presenting her with the yellow cloth, saying it is from Yuri. With wide, hopeful eyes, the woman clutches the cloth and asks if he is safe. The king agrees and said yes. Overjoyed and relieved, she bursts into tears, exclaiming to Yuri, "He's alive! He's alive!" and that she wants to see Yuri soon. A dreamlike scene shows a loving hand gently pats Yuri's white hair, signaling comfort and reunion. Surrounded by a field of roses, a smiling Yuri embraces his mother, happily declaring he is returned. But it's real. Mother, keel down as her happy little boy Yuri exclaims that he is here, reaching out to her. Tears of joy well up in the mother's eyes, her expression filled with a mix of relief and overwhelming emotion. Yuri is tightly hugged by his mother, who cries out his name, Yuri, in a heartfelt embrace. Yuri looks surprised but also a little confused, asking softly if she is mother, as he is held close. The mother gently wipes away her tears as Yuri looks at her with concern, while a tall, serious man watches them from a distance. Father looks a bit sad as he extends his hand slightly, as if wanting to reach out but holding back. Suddenly, someone calls out, "Your Majesty," surprising the mother and son as they look towards the voice. A guard reports to the king that the area is secured, and the man agrees to leave the rest to him, still glancing at the mother and son. A cheerful man approaches, bowing and saying that with the sun setting, they might be cold and should go somewhere warm. Yuri looks up at his mother with wide, curious eyes, wondering if it is somewhere warm, as she places a hand on his shoulder. Yuri is now in a bubbly bath, happily exclaiming that it is so warm, mother, with bubbles all around him. The mother's hand is seen in the water, as Yuri happily agrees that they should thank Johan for the warm bath. The mother gently helps Yuri with his bubbly hat, smiling sweetly as Yuri feels happy and warm in the bath, saying it feels nice. Yuri smiles widely, thinking about how his Ruru would also have felt this good in this warm bath. The mother playfully pokes Yuri's nose, covered in bubbles, making him giggle softly and saying he has some bubbles there. Yuri looks a little nervous again, remembering he was so nervous until just now, and can't stop thinking about what happened at noon. He smiles, feeling warm now, saying it is because mother is here, making her feel glad too, and saying she is also feeling warm. A dark shadow appears, showing the mother's fear that Yuri might go somewhere again. The mother suddenly remembers she needs to thank father, her eyes wide with a new thought. Yuri, holding a rubber duck in the bath, explains that he selfishly asked his father to bring him here. A flashback shows the father on horseback in the rain, with Yuri's small voice saying, "Ah, father." Yuri, soaked in the rain, bows and pleads to please take him to mother too. The father looks down, as Yuri asks if mother is all alone, right? Yuri looks down, his heart heavy, thinking that is really sad. The father warns Yuri that the rain is strong, and he will probably fall if he rides the horse. Yuri looks up, thinking of a solution, and says, "Then, the father's eye, with a hint of red, looks serious, saying, but Yuri suggests that a horse would be faster than a carriage, looking up hopefully. The father asks if Yuri is okay with a bumpy ride on the horse, and Yuri quickly agrees and says, yes. Back here, Yuri, in the bath, giggles, remembering how surprising it is how much a cargo wagon swings. He looks really happy, thinking it might have turned into a much bigger problem if he had ridden father's horse. The mother, looking a bit shocked and emotional, tears flowing, asks, "Mother?" As Yuri watches her. The mother apologizes, crying, saying Yuri must have been so scared, and that she feels so happy that he came for her like this. Yuri points out the bubbles, mother, clearly happy that Yuri came to see him. Yuri's surprised but happy face peeks over the bath's edge, realizing what his mother truly feels when she says Yuri came to see me. He thinks that he should have been waiting at the castle as an adopted crown prince, but the mother smiles, saying she needs to let the bubbles flow, hinting at some secret plan or intention, and she is glad she practiced. She happily pours more bubbly water over Yuri, who laughs joyfully, loving the playful moment. Later, a tray with delicious-looking bread, oranges, and berries is shown, ready for a snack. Johan carries the snack tray, looking a bit flustered, saying, "Excuse me," as he enters the room to leave the night snack. Johan looks at some clothes on a bed and realizes he should have also kept an extra pair of clothes. He sees a note with numbered points, the last one asking if Yuri can stay with him forever. Johan looks shocked and concerned, realizing this must be Lord Yuri's request, as he holds the note. Yuri is seen happily splashing in the bubbles, completely unaware of Johan's discovery. Johan gently holds a rolled-up paper, perhaps a very important letter or scroll, with a soft flutter sound. They both stand in a room, one holding papers and looking thoughtful, the other looking busy by a desk. Johan looks a little sad and worried, his green eyes shimmering with unspoken feelings. Oh, what a joyful hug. Johan imagines they will be together for life, as Yuri laughs in his arms. He calmly asks if something is wrong. Johan exclaims with a bright, fake smile that nothing is wrong at all, suddenly asking about the Duke's investigation as if to change the subject. He repeats that it is nothing, but the red-haired man still looks back with a hint of worry, wondering if that is so. They suggest going to bed because they will return to the castle tomorrow. Johan cheerfully declares that sleep is the best nourishment for the heart, with a sparkly swish. The man is left alone in the quiet room, leaning against the table, looking deep in thought with a soft thud. He carefully opens a drawer, revealing a special, ornate book lying inside, waiting to be read. On the other side, Yuri, his adoptive mother, and another man walk towards a grand, beautiful castle, ready to go home. Yuri worries if Emma and the others will be angry, but his kind mother assures him they should welcome him with a smile as usual. Suddenly the maid rushes forward, yelling "Lord Yuri and Your Majesty" in a mix of excitement and panic. The maid barrels towards little Yuri, ready to scoop him into a giant, emotional hug. Yuri is caught in a tight, tearful hug by the maid, who cries about failing to protect him, while his mother looks on, surprised. His mother gently asks the head maid what happened to Emma, clearly confused by the maid's dramatic reaction. Emma, the maid chief, also arrives looking shocked and distressed, calling out Lord Yuri. Yuri looks up with big, sparkly eyes, as someone worriedly notes he must have been cold in the rain. Yuri is wrapped snugly in a warm blanket, then another, looking absolutely adorable and cozy. His mother asks what on earth happened, while two other maids stand behind her, looking concerned. Everyone is showering little Yuri with love and apologies, with the maid chief joining the hug, and the red-haired man looking on, ready to join the Me Too train. His mother smiles softly to herself, a gentle chuckle escaping her lips. She looks at Yuri with a sweet, nostalgic smile, finding the moment strange yet nostalgic. Someone calls out to His Majesty, interrupting the warm reunion. An older gentleman, announcing that the meal is ready, and invites them to the dining hall. Yuri lets out a big, happy huff sound, feeling overwhelmed with emotion. With a bright, relieved smile, Yuri apologizes to everyone for making them worry. The maids, Johan and the older gentleman, look at Yuri with teary, happy eyes, exclaiming Lord Yuri. His mother spreads her arms wide with a beaming smile, welcoming Yuri back home. She says, "Welcome back, Yuri." Yuri smiles shyly, feeling the warmth of being truly welcomed. His mother embraces him tightly, a soft, loving welcome back echoing between them. Yuri's pet dog sleeps peacefully beside a framed photo of Yuri and his mother, showing how much love is in their home. Later, everyone gathers around a lavish dining table, with Lucas and Matthew expressing their thanks for the invitation. Yuri and his mother sit at the grand table, both looking happy and polite as they enjoy the meal. One of the young men, Matthew, nervously explains that he only followed Lucas, and that it is his father's fault, looking quite flustered. Yuri looks kind and thoughtful as Matthew remarks on his humility, or rather, his kindness. Matthew reflects on his own background, being from the house of Duke Straggler, just like his father. His mother smiles gently, understanding the weight of such words. At the Baron's palace, the Baron, with a smile, says his father used to look down on it too. A hand rests on a table setting, as the person reflects that they thought that was simply the nature of noble society and expresses surprise. Yuri's mother looks on with a smile, while he and Matthew are visible at the table. Matthew asks if His Majesty also found it hard to deal with what people talked about regarding her background. Yuri's eyes show a thoughtful expression. He says he understands. Yuri looks at his mother and hesitantly asks Her Majesty if she would mind him asking something. Matthew, Yuri, and his mother are shown, with Matthew asking if his father's punishment has been decided. Yuri looks concerned. His mother then says Matthew will probably hear about it sooner or later, asking if it would be all right if she told him there. Matthew looks up expectantly. His mother states that Matthew's father has been sentenced to life imprisonment for kidnapping members of the royal family and attempted assassination. And, she adds, the title of the Duke will be confiscated. Yuri looks up at his mother with wide eyes, asking about Lucas. Matthew understands the implications, as he notes that Lucas will be banished from the territory. He also adds that there will no longer be any conflict over the succession rights to the throne. He expresses his relief, saying he is glad, and notes that Yuri will now have no rivals. Yuri looks thoughtful, perhaps a little sad. His mother then turns to Lucas, making a suggestion. With a bright, welcoming smile, his mother asks Lucas if he would like to become Yuri's personal knight. Lucas looks surprised at the question, asking if he is wanted to be the crown prince's personal knight. Yuri's mother explains that she is not asking him to join right now, but if he joins the Imperial Army's Royal Knight Order, there is a boarding school, so he will not have to worry about a place to live. At the Grand Boarding School building, she ponders that one cannot enroll without a recommendation from the Knight Order or the royal family. Yuri's mother smiles brightly, offering to recommend him. Lucas looks down, expressing his concern that, as the son of the man who committed treason against the royal family, there is no way he can be forgiven. Yuri exclaims happily that he is glad. Yuri then expresses his desire to work harder with Lucas from now on. Lucas's hands are shown clasped nervously, as he hesitantly asks if it is really okay. Yuri's mother smiles, telling him she wholeheartedly welcomes him. Lucas looks down, blushing slightly, still appearing a bit overwhelmed but touched. Later, at the Grand Castle, Carriage are visible as Yuri and Lucas walk along a path, and someone calls out. Lucas, looking somber, admits he told Yuri during the Glory Festival that he wished he had never been born, and apologizes for saying that. Lucas reflects that he has always wanted to apologize. Yuri looks up, surprised, asking if something like that happened, and cheerfully states he had no idea until Lucas brought it up just now. Yuri smiles reassuringly, telling Lucas it is okay. Lucas smiles warmly, telling Yuri he is honestly so kind. Yuri, Lucas, his mother, and the other man stand near the carriage, with Yuri observing and thinking he still has not asked the last question from the operation. Lucas smiles at Yuri, saying he is glad and thanks him very much. Matthew calls out to Lord Lucas, announcing that the carriage is ready. Yuri's mother addresses Lucas by the carriage. Yuri and his tells Lucas there are long vacations at school, so he can come back anytime. She adds that Yuri and she will welcome him by saying, "Welcome home." Lucas smiles, confirming he understands. Yuri's mother and a teary-eyed Yuri bid farewell to Lucas, wishing him a safe trip. Lucas gently ruffles Yuri's hair, teasing him that the royal family should not cry so easily, and calling him a weakling. Meanwhile, the princess looks concerned, noting that the Duke, who was the main culprit, showed no sign of remorse, and perhaps His Majesty is concerned about it. The Duke is shown tied up in a cell, as a voice states that they cannot extract information if he is permitted, and that is why he will receive a life sentence to keep him from talking. The man stands by a window, observing the Duke, remarking that after endangering 2 children, he still has the nerve to laugh. Yuri's mother looks distraught, declaring she cannot forgive him, while the other agrees. She apologizes for showing an unpleasant side of herself and thinks she needs to calm down. She asks if he has already conveyed the Duke's condition, and he replies, yes. He continues, saying he spoke to the Duke a little while ago, but in the moment he exchanged words with him in the cell, he thought he would just cut his head off right there. He wanted to silence the Duke, and Yuri's mother asks if the Duke said something to him. She looks surprised, questioning, "The same?" Her expression changes, indicating it is not the same. She reflects that to him, His Majesty is nothing more than a tool for the country's survival, and that even in this life, on the day she had a fever. Yuri's mother holds a framed image of Yuri, tearfully saying that for her, Yuri is irreplaceable. She concludes by saying that to him, His Majesty is always calm and seems to have no worries even now, so it is not the same. He looks at her, asking if it really seems that way to her. Yuri's mother looks away, and he questions if she is raising Yuri for the sake of the country. He states he will not deny it, but when he thinks back to the day Yuri was kidnapped, his hands still tremble. Yuri's mother's eye widens in surprise. She admits that even now, she cannot stop feeling uneasy, terrified she might lose Yuri one day and unable to sleep because of it. The Majesty asks if she has any plans for later, and she replies, no. He then says he sees, and that is good to hear, before calling out for Sebastian. Sebastian, the older gentleman with the monocle, responds yes. 3 maids stand ready, announcing that the preparations for Her Majesty are complete. Yuri's mother looks surprised, questioning what is happening. She looks around at the several maids gathering, wondering what this is. The Majesty asks if she forgot. He reminds her they had an agreement for the day off. A close-up shows a horse and Yuri's mom legs in new riding attire, while the knight comments that she looks fresh. Yuri's mother stands in a new riding outfit, noting she is not used to wearing such clothes, but finds them comfortable yet feels a bit nervous. The king effortlessly mounts his horse. He helps Yuri's mother onto the horse, holding her securely. They ride together on horseback, and he remarks that it is good to have a break once in a while, to which she agrees. Yuri's mother reflects that she was not feeling it at first, but now thinks she needs a break to calm down. The king, looking at her, asks if she is unhappy with the premises, and she replies no. Yuri's mother thinks that she will not be able to leave Yuri for a while, and appreciates his concern. She smiles, expressing her thanks. Yuri's mother wonders what they will do today, recalling her agreement to spend one day with him. The man suggests she might feel differently if she got moving, and then asks if she likes hunting. Yuri's mother looks surprised by the suggestion of hunting, stating she knows about bows and arrows but has never indulged in hunting before. While riding, she asks him when he took up hunting as a hobby, and he replies it was around 10 or 12 years old. Yuri's mother wonders if Yuri would be interested in hunting, imagining Yuri shooting an arrow at a rabbit. As they ride, Yuri's mother suggests it might be more fitting to cross swords with Lucas, the Duke's son. The man seems surprised. Yuri's mother looks wide-eyed, stating she does not understand how he and Lucas can be so familiar in their interactions. She thinks marriage and children for the succession, and how they had not had a good conversation since Yuri was born, which is testament to his previous life. Yuri's mother looks away, thinking it might be time she paid him a little attention. She thinks, noting that His Majesty continues to surprise him these days. He stands with a horse in a stable, and Yuri's mother looks around in awe, calling the scene beautiful. The king gazes at her, suggesting to walk a little. They stand in a vibrant field of flowers near the castle, and she expresses surprise that such a place exists within their castle grounds. He explains that as Empress, she was supposed to have unrestricted access to any part of the castle grounds. Yuri's mother stands amidst the flowers, looking thoughtful. He states that there is no door she cannot open, accompanied by a faint image of him walking alone. He looks down, perspiring slightly, indicating that this was not how things were supposed to be. The emperor offers an apology, saying he is sorry. They stand facing each other in the beautiful, open field. He admits it is his fault he let her go, and promises that from now on, she will never have another problem. She looks tearfully at him, acknowledging his apology, and thinking she has to let this go. She tells him it is not his fault. The emperor stands firm, looking directly at her. He attributes it to his own complacency, and tells her she does not have to accept his apology. He then suggests they go, and she begins to follow him. On the other side, arrows are seen striking a target. Yuri's mother observes the target in amazement, while the emperor launches them. The emperor turns his head, a slight smile on his face, looking towards the target. Yuri's mother blushes and looks a little shy. He hands her a bow, telling her it is her turn. She looks hesitant. Yuri's mother feels awkward and uncomfortable, thinking she is making His Majesty uncomfortable, and resolves to get it over with quickly. She attempts to shoot an arrow, but it falls short of the target. She states she does not remember it being this difficult. The man tells her he is sorry her time to enjoy herself will be cut short, and that as for him, he still knew it. Yuri's mother focuses intently as she aims the bow again. The emperor stands close behind her, providing guidance. He instructs her to watch, and then to pull out the arrow and shoulder it. He guides her hand, telling her to slowly pull her hand back. He notes that she is too close, still guiding her form. An arrow is perfectly lodged in the bullseye of the target. The emperor congratulates her on hitting it and tells her to try it a few more times. She agrees. Yuri's mother sighs, lamenting, "What a night." She then remembers something else and tells him he should concentrate on his bow and arrow. Yuri's mother confidently holds the bow and aims. The emperor watches her with a subtle smile. Yuri's mother looks tired and asks if that was too much effort, while the man looks at her. Yuri's mother asks, "Your Majesty?" and he tells her she does not have the strength in her arms. She asks if he is too strong, and he simply tells her to do as instructed. He emperor teaches Yuri's mother how to shoot an arrow, and her unsuccessful attempt at hunting a rabbit. The target is hit perfectly in the center. Yuri's mother beams, exclaiming, "Finally!" The emperor, also holding a bow, states that is right, and expresses his happiness that she got absorbed in the activity. Yuri's mother looks puzzled, asking, "Absorbed?" They stand together, with the empress puzzled. Yuri's mother blushes, thinking to herself, "When did I start having fun?" He acknowledges her change of heart but contrasts it with her previous life, where she never apologized and was only expected to produce an heir. They both stand separated, and he states that while her current state is obvious compared to the past, it does not erase what happened. Yuri's mother looks dejected, wondering what is wrong with her now. The king looks towards her, addressing her as empress, and thinking, "That's why." Yuri's mother smiles brightly, exclaiming and asking what is next after the bow and arrow. The king instructs her to get dressed, as they are going to dinner. The king walks away from Yuri's mother, saying Yuri is also invited to join them for dinner. Yuri's mother reflects that, as planned, she will simply accompany His Majesty for a day. Later that evening, maids move about in the room, making sounds, implying preparations. Yuri's mother thinks that having a meal with her, Yuri and His Majesty, feels like something dramatic might happen today. A flashback shows Yuri's mother's past self, looking distraught after holding and losing Yuri for the first time. She then thinks that since she was a little girl, she has always wanted to be alone. She thinks how King, Yuri, and Yuri's mother, as a happy family, laughing together. Soon a maid enthusiastically calls out to the empress, apologizing for keeping her waiting. 3 smiling maids present several sparkling dresses on mannequins, inviting Yuri's mother to choose a dress of her choice. Yuri's mother looks slightly confused, thinking they all look the same, and asks them to let her check again, wondering about the 3 of them. The 3 maids introduce themselves as Allie, Ellie, and Kelly, stating they are there as the Empress's handmaidens by order of the Emperor, and announce they have their first command. Yuri's mother sits on a stool, looking overwhelmed by the enthusiastic maids. She looks thoughtful, thinking she is not supposed to be there for the Emperor's festival. The king assists Yuri's mother, as she thinks no one has ever served her from the time of their marriage until today. The king comments that she does not know anything. Yuri's mother looks concerned, wondering if her earlier words caused this. Yuri's mother points to a shining blue dress on a mannequin, asking what about this one, and thinks it is beautifully adorned with gems. She smiles, declaring the dress is beautiful. The 3 maids smile happily in response. Yuri's mother looks surprised, as a maid explains the dress was chosen by the Emperor for the Empress. The maid also reveals the Emperor instructed them not to tell the Empress he prepared a dress, because he did not know what she liked. Her eyes convey deep sadness, as she thinks to herself, "Stop," and questions what she is going to do now. She sits, looking dejected. She thinks the dress is different too. The 3 maids are shown enthusiastically presenting a box of jewelry and shoes, while a chibi Yuri's mother thinks another dress. On the other side, the king sits at the dining table, waiting. Yuri's mother enters the dining room, dressed in the new blue gown, while the king observes her from the table. Yuri's mother shows up in her elegant blue dress. The king looks at Yuri's mother and admires her, dressed in a matching blue and gold outfit. Yuri's mother bows and thanks His Majesty for the dress he prepared for her. The king looks away, appearing shy. Yuri's mother notices that His Majesty has the same dress design. The king and Yuri's mother walk together, and he asks what she would have done had he not chosen this dress. He explains that it is not a formal occasion, so if the attire does not match, it will not hurt the royal family, then trails off, implying, "That's why." The king smiles warmly, stating he is glad she chose this dress. Yuri's mother looks slightly flustered, acknowledging his statement. Later, the king pulls out a chair for Yuri's mother. Yuri's mother is seated at the table, while the king stands nearby, having pulled out her chair. The king clears his throat, asking when Yuri will be there. He heard Yuri had a long rehearsal and does not think he is ready yet. Yuri's mother smiles, reflecting on Yuri's enthusiasm. She admits she is a bit overprotective, so she is a little worried. The king looks on with a steady gaze, suggests that perhaps Yuri is like her, which surprises her. He recalls thinking Yuri's mother was living a good life as an empress, while he was not in the castle. A silhouetted image of Yuri's mother, surrounded by wealth, emphasizes this past perception. He also admits it was his fault for leaving her in charge. The king looks away, noting that she never once asked him for help or complained. He then considers that maybe it was because of him. He looks directly at her, stating that is why he wants to speak to her now. Yuri's mother looks down, then thinks, convenient, isn't it? The king's eyes convey a deep intensity as he thinks about words of regret and the cold indifference of the past. Yuri's mother looks distressed in past memories, surrounded by broken glass, thinking she cannot stop dwelling on the words that hurt her. In flashback, a series of happy memories between the king and Yuri's mother, including moments of care and joy, are shown. Bringing back, Yuri's mother is seated at the table, expresses her desire for His Majesty to face Yuri as his father. The king looks at Yuri's mother as she explicitly states that is what she is asking him to do. Yuri's mother smiles, and the king acknowledges her request, saying "Aya," and promising her. They both are in the dining room, and she wonders if it is Yuri approaching. Yuri's mother smiles with delight, telling Yuri she is so glad he is there. Yuri, dressed as a chef, is pushed forward by another chef, and happily greets, saying, "There you are, father, mother."